Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Okay.
Very brief point of information. If you are using a microphone, talk into it directly like I am right now, and do not wave your face back and forth because people cannot hear you. That is all.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, James Jackson, Sacramento DSA, he, him. I've already asked people to be mindful of the chatter of their comrades. Who are sensitive to sensory overload, and that goes double for the heckling and the hissing. It is also triggering to my anxiety. Like, the be comradely isn't just for, like, you know, let's keep things civil or whatever. It's so that people aren't gonna get triggered. And so that it doesn't affect their performance as a delegate.
We have a lot of disabled comrades. And a lot of those are invisible. Disability. First of all, in this room, I see that no one's clapping for me. It could be because I'm not engaging, but it also is because everyone's doing this. And that's really important because those loud bursts of noise, even though this is a noisy space, when we can do something like reducing that, that's really important. So please don't clap, shoot up for people. Don't talk to cops.
Point of privilege. Can I reiterate that we, for the sake of our comrades, who have sensory issues, refrain from hissing, loudly shouting out your opinion on a vote, or waving banners and signs that reflect your vote in front of people?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Andy P. From Los Angeles, they, them pronouns. Could I please ask the chair to, again, there was a previous point of privilege about waving around signs, that it is distracting to other comrades. I have autism. This is distracting to me. I would like to ask our fellow delegates, please, to not wave around your signs, especially during voting. Thank you.
Yes.
When we're raising our placards, when we transition between the votes, can we slow down a little bit because it's starting to get confusing for people?
Totally. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to vote.
I have a question, a point of order.
So voting yes would be to make it. Hold on, could I just get through my sentence, please? Vote all those in favor of
inquiry?
Yeah, what's your point of inquiry?
As it stands, this is Daniel Ray from Piedmont. He, him pronouns.
So we are a bit behind schedule.
Oh! Guys, can you imagine? Oh my God. Oh, Jamie, I know. Hey, everybody. So that's just scary. So let me see if I can put this in perspective. All right, let me just make sure I got everything working here. I want to put that in perspective because it's not funny, right? Like, you could make fun of it, but we can't because it's bad. Just open up my notes. That's good. That'll work. I'll move these over here. And think about that for a second. Like, I'll tell you guys a story in a minute. But, you know, you got to wonder, like, how does that happen? like this is a committee. They're voting on something. It's like a, you know, like a town council meeting or something like that, city council or some, you know, some kind of committee. They're trying to vote, and they couldn't get anywhere because the neuroses is so high. But it's unfortunate to see human beings like this, and I think the comment is that one, they obviously are suffering, right? Why are there so many people like this today? And they need help, right? But more importantly, that, you know, it's bad enough like we have politicians that are corrupt and, let's say, not challenged in this way, although some are, right? But then we're going to allow like this into the political discourse and people in positions of power and authority. When first of all, you can't get anywhere with this because of the neuroses. You can't have that. Like you know, imagine an entire police force or a fire department or a rescue force. Like, you know, you call 911, you need an ambulance. There's a car accident. You need a car accident. It's a serious car accident. There's potential. Something's burning, and it's on the road. And so you need police for traffic, you need fire department for the fire, and then you need a rescue team, 911 medical rescue. Imagine if all of these people filled those ranks because the government is favoring this and they're going to push these people into, just like they're doing it in corporations with ESG, and they're doing it elsewhere as well, in government itself. And imagine, right, you fill the ranks of those departments, including the 911 operator. Sir, you're too loud. You're anxious. You need to calm down. Well, somebody just shot me, sir. I'm being triggered. I can't handle it. I'm going to have to hang up now. Okay. I mean, I can't imagine, right? There's a reason for why you can't do that in society, right? You know, imagine astronauts, right? Just imagine military. Imagine your invasion force. Well, this definitely, like, if you put them on the front line right now, I think that the enemy would run away. I mean, these people certainly would run away. They would just shut down. And so it's important to find out, well, why is this happening so much? Why are there so many of them? And of course, that's not a discussion for tonight, but I just wanted to point that out. I think we need to all of us start to realize that this is a major threat. You have people like, you know, in government, like that woman with the horse teeth, what's her name, AOC? Right, she's partially deranged, and she's also nasty, right? Like she'll, you know, like she said recently that, you know, canceling people is a thing, right? You can go do that, you know. So cancel somebody because they don't agree with you, destroy their income, destroy their life, shut them down, deny their free speech, and she has no problem with that, right? And imagine even more levels of neuroses on top of that. So I'll get to a quick story. I want to say hi to everybody, but I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. It's just crazy, right? So when I was younger, I was working out in like Douglaston, Queens, whatever, working on some homes out there, contracting and stuff. And I think it was Creedmoor. Now, when I was very young, we had Pilgrim State. These are psychiatric facilities. And in many cases, if you look to see what's on the streets today, the kind of people that are on the streets, they range. It doesn't matter what color, what their background really is. Some of them may even be military, right? Because these people freak out, they stress out, they get onto drugs, they have medical issues, they have mental issues. There's these health concerns. And particularly the left has spent an awful lot of money to do I don't know what the hell what, because they're on many of the major cities, you see these people out on the street. They used to be brought into facilities and where they could be, you know, somewhat more cared for and controlled. And at least they weren't out freezing or in lousy weather. And even in terms of drug use, there were ways of monitoring that. And they don't even do that anymore, right? So they shut these buildings down. You know, they claimed there were issues, you know, and abuse. Okay, so clean up the abuse. Fix the abuse problem. No, they threw them out on the street. Oh, because that's better, right? Because and how they're spending all this money. Ooh, there's a lot of explosions going off over here. Yeah, there's been partying going on. Yeah, by the way, happy 4th of July, everybody. That's coming up, in case I don't see you fellas. So, it's like, oh, there's my Christina Marie, right? She said, this is the shirt. This is the shirt my Christina, that's my daughter, right? This is the shirt she made. We were trying to get it in a lighter color. Notice how I can't stay on anything, you know, because it's like, because I have mental issues. I mean, most people do. I have all kinds of physical issues, right? That's why you need treatment. You're not, you know, not that. So we were trying from like an olive drab and have a bit more contrast because it's missing something. Yeah, it's missing the whole background. But even just this is kind of neat, you know. Anyway, so I think it was Creedmoor. So I'm out there working, and this happened like twice, and from my understanding, it happened a lot. Somebody got out, and they came up the block, and they confront you, and they start talking to you like that, right? That's what it sounds like. It doesn't make any sense. They can actually get aggressive, right, because they start to panic. And if you notice that one fellow was really starting to panic because, you know, people were raising their voices, or somebody else was upset because you're using gendered language. Good thing they don't speak like Spanish, because it's all gendered language, you know. I mean, there's a number of languages like that. Can you imagine? What, do you have to throw away your language because that person can't handle a gendered language? This is crazy. So, well, those people are a little nuts, and they can be dangerous. And depending upon what meds they're supposed to be taking, or they're not taking anymore, or they're not taking it properly, and what other drugs they may or may not be taking, they can be pretty hostile. And we actually do see this, by the way, in you know, I've seen it, I've been watching it. So, and I think canceling people and causing people to lose their jobs and forcing people to do things that is not appropriate, that is hostile. Anyway, so I want to move on. So, hello, Christina. Hello, everybody out there. And I want to say thank you to everybody. Jamie says, congratulations on your achievement. Thanks, Jamie. And yeah, it's kind of really kind of neat, right? Like 1 million views. Let me put that in perspective, right? What's 1 million views? It's a nice accomplishment. I've been at this for like 3 years. And I never thought I would get to 1 million views. You know, 1 million views is not a lot on YouTube by any means. I mean, there are people that, like, they do a video and they get like 50,000 views on one video, right? They might have 1 million views on one video, like maybe over a little bit of time. So 1 million views is not really a lot over the course of the entire channel for 3 years, but it is like a milestone, and I think I'm just under 5,000 subscribers. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody out there, and it's a combination of things, because it's the people that kind of, you know, since I do wow, there's a lot of explosions. It's the people that kind of hit on your how-to videos, on my how-tos, and then there's some of the other videos and stuff that I do, and so they're like, a lot of them are I think are just looking for that solution in that moment, and I think we all do that, right? You know, something breaks, or you need to figure something out. You go check out a video, and you find a title and a thumbnail, and you watch it for a few minutes, and you get your answer. And I get a lot of compliments on some of those videos. Those are the ones that I think will make probably the most success of the channel, especially in this world, right? Because if a lawnmower breaks, you know, generally speaking, it's only us handful of people here that really hang out and start talking about lawnmowers and small engine and equipment and tractors and cool stuff. But the average person doesn't, you know, the damn thing broke, and they think that maybe they could be handy enough and they could be successful and fix it. And the last thing they want to do is spend any more time with anything, you know, with a small engine, other than to get past their problem, fix it, and move on, right? And so they're not gonna like hang out over at Archer's garage and, you know, what are you doing? You guys want to talk about lawnmowers and bench race lawnmowers? No, nobody really does that. There's very few of us. There's actually very few. Of the people that do this, right? And I want to say thank you to all the fellas out there and ladies out there that, because, you know, a lot of you guys have YouTube channels, big, small, medium, have stopped in and helped to support my channel. So that's like super cool. Okay. That's like the super cool level, and up there with the super cool level are just the people that want to hang out, like you fellas, and just, you know, kind of like hang out with, you know, old Arch and just check out some of his videos, just like I check out some of his videos, and that's like the super cool level. I'm not saying that the how-tos are, you know, are bad, but they're like one-hit wonders. Like, they just want that one thing. If it's a 10-minute video, they'll watch the 2 minutes that they think they're going to get something out of it. And like I said, they're going to move on. But in this world, right, a lot of the stuff is going to be how-to. So if you guys have your own channel and you're kind of coming up on the come up, you know, you want to think about, like, what is it you want to do. Let's see what Christina says. Let's see. JVO says, congratulations. Christina says, especially the ones already on psych meds to begin with. Yeah, yeah. And then she says, how do we get you a YouTube plaque? How do we get that? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It used to be something like there was like one for 1 million views or something, but I don't know. It's probably a lot. You need a lot of views. I don't know. 1 million subscribers. I don't know. I don't know. People get plaques, you know. I don't know. It's a good question. Does anybody know that answer? I actually don't know that answer. I never really thought about it. You know, because when I started, I had a crappy camera. Yeah, you have to search it. I had a really crappy camera. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And my videos really sucked. And I was like, well, I'm trying. And, you know, let me see what it looks like. For some of you guys that have your own channels, do you guys remember back to the first time you uploaded a video, right? And thanks, Casey. Casey says, congratulations. You guys remember the first time you uploaded a video, not the first time you recorded yourself and you saw it, right? Because that doesn't count. The first time you had a video and you uploaded it and then you watched yourself and you went, oh God, what did I do? Oh, that's horrible. Ew, I sound like that? Oh my God. Oh no, what am I doing? You know, did you get, anybody have that? Because I know I did. I was like, what the hell am I saying? What am I doing? What is that? Good thing the camera sucks because you can barely see me, right? Christina says, oh, I should have sent you the silly video you took of my car the other day. That would be a great little clip for tonight's. Yeah, T, I told you to send that over. I don't know. How could you? I don't know how you would do that now through social media. You'd have to post it to something so that I could access it, and then I could play it here on the. I could play it here on the multimedia console. Right? So, you know, I could do that, but I have to have access to the file. That was funny. Yeah, we went looking for. She's got one of these. I don't know what is it. It's a Hyundai Elantra or something, and she thought she had some issues with the transmission and maybe not working smooth, and we were looking for the dipstick. There is no dipstick. There's just nothing. There's nothing there. So there's a procedure to deal with that. What'd she say? She goes, I'll send it to your Facebook messages 1 second. Yeah. Let's see. Let me know when you send it. And I'll log into my Facebook account real quick and we'll play that. But do you guys remember that, though? Like the first time some of you fellas that have your channels and whatever, and you were like, were you ever like, what am I doing, right? What the hell did I just do? And the other cool thing is, too, is when you make a lot of mistakes. So you say the wrong thing. Like you say something and that's not what you mean. You know, it's something else. You mean something else because you're trying to narrate, deal with the cameras and the fact that you're recording, and work on the thing at the same time. So like you need to be like a split brain patient to do all of that, right? See, Wrench says, what's up, Wrench? Gotta lay under them now to check the gearbox fluid. Kind of annoying. Yeah, that's right. There's a whole procedure. You gotta warm it all up. You got to get it up nice and level. You got to get it underneath there, and you got to there's like an inspection drain. It's not the bottom drain. It's the side. It allows you to inspect it. Some of it's going to come out, and then it's just crazy. Why? Because they just didn't want to put a dipstick in? I don't get it. They call it a sealed unit. Casey says, I don't like the way I sound. I don't know. I listen to you. You sound like a person. You just don't like the sound of it. I like the way I sound because I have that New York accent, right? Coffee and we like around the house, like my daughter and I, like we emphasize all of the bad crap that we say. Like everything is with an R, right? You add an extra R on there, you pronounce the R even more. Like we go out of our way to talk wrong. I actually taught her that when, you know, it's like when she was a kid, right? I used to deliberately teach her to speak wrong. And eventually she caught on, right? Just to kind of, you know, you got to do something, right? Christina says, yes, we know. You like to hear yourself talk. Right, that's what my ex-wife always says, her mom. You just want to hear yourself talk. See, now I'm not going to say anything. All right, now I'm just going to shut down, shut my mouth. So anyway, what was I saying again? Where was I? So my camera was a piece of crap, but I was fortunate to have it. I got a camera for like $125. It was like scratch and dent. You could use like 2 AA batteries, and then I wound up using rechargeable. It was actually a Canon, and it had a lot of like manual capabilities. And I was like, okay, I'll play around with that, because I actually took this stuff in school for like 2 years. You know, photography, communications. We wrote scripts, and we would do in the video for the schools and the plays, and we would make commercials, and I would do news shows, and it was like pretty fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. You know, it was a lot of fun doing that. And I always thought about that back in the day, like working on cars and stuff, and I was like looking at, I read a lot, and especially back then, and there was a lot of really cool books that I was reading, especially on like cars and hot rodding. And remember this one series, well, Chilton's is one of them, but there was another series that I was reading on, rebuilding engines, whatever, and there was some pictures in there. So the guy that was, he took everything apart, photographed everything, wrote the book, and did all the narration and everything, and I was like amazed by that. I was like, how does this guy know how to do all of this? Like, he's got the camera out, and of course that was all photography, but you have to have all the explanations, you have to have all the breakdowns, and then he would put in schematics, and I'm like, that's a lot. Like, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I would almost want to do something like that. Like, how do you even get involved in a job like that? And then as time went on, I thought, it would kind of be neat to have like a show, like almost like a studio shop. And then when I started working for the military, when you walk into some of their facilities, it's like hospital clean, And I thought, I just kept thinking about it. And then we started watching like, HGTV, or even before that. Remember like Norm Abrams and all those guys like doing all that stuff. And I'm like, wow. And then one of the guys that I know from around the corner, Neil Vanaguri, he used to say to me, he goes, because people would sometimes say that, you're actually a pretty decent teacher. Why don't you become like a BOCES teacher or whatever? And then Neil was like, there was some company hiring for people to like run a show, like Hot Rod TV and all these guys like were down south and Eastwood and all this other stuff. And they're like building cars. It was something along those lines. He's like, you should send in an application. And this is like when YouTube like first started happening, and I really never ever made the connection to me doing YouTube. When my daughter was born, I started video recording a lot of stuff, and I had what they called like a high 8. It was kind of based on not quite a VCR tape, but it was a digitally encoded signal that was put on a tape, and it was a small cassette tape. And when you would try to spool that up to the, from off the camera into a computer, if you shot a video for an hour and you wanted to spool an hour worth of tape up to the computer to digitize it, you had to spool it up to the computer and play it for that hour. And if in the last few minutes something went wrong, either the computer glitched or what usually was the computer, and you'd have to start all over again. The file would be truncated, and it just wouldn't close, and you'd have to do it all over again and figure out what the hell went wrong. And it took forever. And that was kind of around the time people started putting up some stuff on YouTube, and I'm like, well, what the hell are they using? This is horrible. And I made a bunch of videos, and I was like, this takes forever. I don't have the time for this. KCB says, cool talking about hot rods. The good guys are in town this weekend. Heartland Nationals, yeah. Raymond Nagel says, Arch, 1 million, really? Congrats. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm big into cars. I'll actually show you fellas my car. My daughter made, I got a bug hanging around me, a mosquito. All right. I'll actually show you. I won't look at them. She made these beautiful pictures of my car back before I sold it, and she put them all up on the wall and whatever, and I took them all down immediately. I'm like, I'm not ready to look at any of this stuff. Like, I don't talk about it. I don't show it. I don't look at cars. I just started to kind of come out a little bit after a few years, because it took like 25 years of my life. It wasn't the only car I did, but I had it for like 25 years. And whatever. I'm still not ready to consciously deal with that. It's a lot. One of these days I'm going to show you guys that making that car. If I had put that on YouTube, that would have been cool because of all the work that I did to it. It was a lot of custom work, both in the engine, on the car. It was a 69 Nova. It had a late model F-body style like Camaro Trans Am subframe. Got rid of the original subframe because they suck. Put a Ford 9-inch rear. I wound up with a Pontiac Ram Air 400 engine, bored over 60, with, you know, full. I did a lot of work on the cam. It was like the second or third cam I put in the thing. Ran beautiful. Had AC. Put aftermarket AC in it. The thing was gorgeous. And see, Casey says, same here, Arch. Yeah. Yep. So I have another friend of mine who's trying to get me back into it, but I'm not ready. I'm absolutely not ready. I would either put it on this channel or maybe start a second channel. There are a couple of car things on this channel from when I first started. I redid a Beetle, a Volkswagen Beetle. The fella lost his father, and he was so distraught. He tried to give me the car, and I didn't want it. The car I wound up making money on the car, but then when I went to get rid of it, I wound up owing him money, and it just wasn't a good deal. It was a 1979 convertible Volkswagen Beetle, and it was a nice car. It came out nice. I didn't completely finish. It was almost done. It needed the interior installed. Repainted it, replaced everything underneath the damn thing. There was nothing left of it. Long Island rust. It was just the outer shell, and all of the underpinnings needed to be replaced. Literally everything. So I did it all. And, you know, the camera sucked and the lighting was crap, and some of it's up there, but some of it isn't. I didn't want it. I really didn't want a Volkswagen, and cars take up a lot of room. Then I had my friend's Camaro, who belonged to two different friends. It was here on the property. It was a split bumper and a wonderful motor in it. It needed a lot of work, and when am I going to do it? I don't have the money, and my health was not good. And I was like, well, I had to let that one go, too. So, and I had a bunch of other cool cars. I had Mustangs, and so we used to do, like, you know, frame off Frestos and all kinds of cool stuff. But, you know, getting into more of the smaller machines and everything is a benefit, because my shop is big for small equipment in a sense. It really isn't, because if you have a lot of it, which if you want to make any money doing it, or even just run a YouTube channel, you need a whole bunch of it. And it starts to take up space after a while, but it's a lot lighter. It's easy to move around. If you have some health issues or a bad back, you're not really straining the same way. You know, I'm sure you guys know. And you're getting older. And everything is cheaper, right? So there's ways of doing it very much on the cheap. And unlike a car, like you take a car apart, there's like thousands and thousands of pieces and parts, and a lot of them are big. And it takes up a lot of room when you take it apart. A lawnmower, yeah, it's got a whole bunch of pieces, but they all shove in a box. A car, to put it back together again, could take years. A lawnmower takes like a couple hours. You know, so you can complete a project, even on a lawn tractor. Casey says, yeah, much easier to afford. Yeah. So you could kind of get, and that's how I started. Lawnmowers, small engines, small equipment, mini bikes, go-karts, smaller motorcycles and dirt bikes and stuff. And then, well, then I went to cars. So, and then airplanes, you know, and fighter jets, and then back to cars. And then I went into carpentry and plumbing and electric and electronics and, you know, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. And now I'm back home again, right? Back to the small stuff. So I get this weird glitch that's happening. And I tried something last night, and it's not on the cameras. It's in this stupid software because I updated it. And it's pissing me off because it just goes, you know, I just saw it. I saw it here, and then I saw it there. I guess, you know, the only other thing I could try doing is going back a whole bunch of updates and uninstalling the software. But it's a pain in the neck. You know, it's like, the hell with trying to update stuff. Don't update stuff. If it works, don't touch it. Because usually the update will fix something. And if it's really not something that you need fixing, don't do it, because it'll break something else. So, So tonight I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and, give a shout out to everybody that's helped out on the channel because it's pretty big. And then a little bit, I want to check my time. So in a little bit, in less than a half hour, we're going to do the premiere of the Sears Custom. I think it's 50 plus years. So it's somewhere between, what were the dates? I forget now. I think it was between 64 and 67. They started making that. I might be wrong now, I'm forgetting. So somewhere between that, but the latest it would be is like 72, 73 because it's got electronic ignition in it. So after about that time, the models that they started coming out with, once they cleared the older inventory, they would have had electronic ignition. And this one doesn't, it's got prints. So anyway, that's all in the first video. So we're going to watch the first video of that in a little bit. That's pretty cool. So I got 2 videos done already. And I think there's like a 3rd video, and that's pretty cool. I haven't finished that one yet. I don't think I have. No, I haven't finished that one yet. And then that'll be it for a little while because I got other stuff to do, and then we're going to come back to that machine and do some more cool stuff to it. So I got a bunch of plans for that thing. It is a really beautiful machine. It's like in its design, not in its aesthetics, right? Because it looks like crap, but it's the way they made it. The metal is all like 1/8 inch and 3/16. It weighs, like when I put it up on the lift table actually, not that it struggled, but you can tell, right? Because it's based on compressed air cylinder, so it took that much longer to build up even more pressure to lift the thing up. And I was like, wow, it doesn't usually do that. So that's coming up soon. And then, oh, there's Rob. Hey, Rob, what's up? He says, congrats on the views. Thank you, Rob. So just briefly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And after saying thank you to everybody, for some of you fellas out there that have your own YouTube channels or whatever, whether you've been doing it a long time or not, I've done a lot of research on it. And I watch, I think I've signed up to like 500 different people that I watch, scan through and all these different things because I got a lot of interests. And I've actually spent a lot of time both on the video end, the audio end, how to make videos and how to use the equipment that I have, but also just watching YouTubers that talk about, well, how do you get views? How do you build your channel? How do you measure success? How do you make it better? How do you know what you're doing is good and how do you know what you're doing is bad? How does YouTube rate you? What happens behind the scenes? What are the nuts and bolts? So a couple of quick tips. So Casey says, I thought my 70 Sears Craig would have been cool with a V-twin instead of the 10 horsepower. Yeah, that's cool. I'm actually thinking about putting a diesel on this thing, a little diesel. And anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I mean, putting different. Also, you guys, I think was it last week? We were talking about the Jacobson, that little rider lawnmower, and the engine vibrates a lot, and I can't really drive it. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, I got a bunch of twin cylinder engines. I mean, I have a couple of like 17 horsepower Briggs I could put on there, single sluggers, but what if we put like an even bigger motor on? Not that you would need it, but why not, right? I think that would be kind of cool. You put these like motors, like the Boxer style Briggs, or maybe the V-twin on the back, or whatever, right? I mean, I have a bunch of them out there. I got to go through those tractors, and some of you guys know the crap that I got back there. And like this season, I'm really like trying to light a fire underneath my butt to get back there and part out what needs to be parted out so I know what I have, organize it, clean up. There's just filth everywhere, from it sitting for so long, and fix a couple of them and sell them. So that's my plan. Casey, he says, yeah, go big. Right. That's what I was thinking, right? Why not just, put something that I have, but not spending any money or anything, just having fun with the stuff that we do, and like, oh, look, here's a V-twin. Let's, I'm not doing anything with it. Boop. Pop that right on, right? And they're going to be better balanced because I think that's, Zippo had mentioned that it's probably the balance on the engine because those older motors, it's an older, what is that? It's a Briggs, I think it's a Briggs 8 horsepower single slug. with the old school carburetor and everything, they weren't really balanced all that well. And having it behind you on a small frame, because that's not like a lawn tractor frame where it's in the front, it's a longer frame. It's a small frame. Everything is pretty rigid, and it's transmitting all of that vibration. It's really uncomfortable, and if you have a bad back, it sends this signal into my body, and it's like, you're like, oh my God, I got to get off the damn thing. It's freaking me out. Like, it really is bothering me. And usually things don't bother me that much. The big tractor, I'll cut like an entire section, and sitting down in general is a problem for somebody like me with a back issue. I'll cut like an entire section. It's pretty damn comfortable. I'll get up. I'll probably be a little stiff, and I'll be like, glad I'm off of that. I'll recover very quickly, and I'll get back on it. That other thing is just wrong. So I put the springs on, and I haven't had a chance to really test it. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I got to actually release a video on that. I got to start working on videos again. I haven't had a chance to do a lot. So yeah, just a couple of things. Like, I think 1 million views is a lot, but in terms of YouTube, I mean, it's a success on one level. It's a measure, but it's really not a lot. Not in the YouTube world. But, how do you measure success and how do you measure failure? And the one thing you got to be ready for is any failures that are going to come along. And a lot of my videos, like I said, the initial ones were crap. Some of the ones that I have now, I've got, I think, what I would consider to be some very good videos, but they're not necessarily going to get a lot of views because they're not all how-tos. So, if you're starting a channel, you have to think about, well, what is it that you really want to show? And is there a market for it? So if you don't care that there's no market for it, make whatever the hell you want. If you'd like to maybe be, a little bit more popular and get some views, and if you're looking for maybe some, compensation, financial, justification, even in today's world with everything getting so ridiculously expensive, it's, even if it's just a little bit of extra money to help out, you want to consider that. So it's something to consider. There could be money in them Nar Hills. And so how do you get access to it? In this world, there's a lot of people doing it, and they've been doing it a long time, and they probably have garnered the majority of the views and the viewership and the people that are committed to sort of watching them or whatever. And it's going to be very hard to sort of pry some of those people away. They may not even want to be bothered with, with what I'm doing or what you're doing. They might be fine just hanging out with who they're hanging out with, because how much of that kind of content can you really consume? If you're going to do a YouTube channel and you want to make money and be popular, for example, if that's the goal, don't start here, right? Because, there was a time where that content was more popular, but I don't think that time is now. It may become more popular in the future because people realize that everything has gotten expensive. We know that these crappy lawnmowers today that they see in the box stores, the bottom of the line in the box stores is $325. They were a few years ago, they were about $1 and change. So I think people are going to get the message that maybe they're going to want to fix them, the ones that they have. They're going to be looking into other alternatives. So there's your how-to content. But the other content, like kind of like hanging out or working on something cool or restoring, I don't know, all bets are off. One of the guys I was watching the other night, about a week or so ago, he's a young feller, Redneck Computer Geek. Some of you guys may know him. If you don't know him, check him out. I'll actually run one of his videos one night when we're hanging out. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. KCB says, let's see, let me back up. So Casey, go big. Casey says, have something no one else has. Yeah. But then, how do you get it? Because, there's the dichotomy. Like, well, yeah, but how do you get the thing that no one else has? Who are you going to get it from? Because no one has it. So you have to have it, right? Wrench says, I have a 77 Montgomery Ward. Yeah, I remember that company. That came with an 8 horsepower. Was going to swap my 13 horsepower on it and use it to tow things around the yard. Yep. A V-twin would be insane for when I make a racing mower out of it. Yeah. It 8 horsepower will tow it around. A lot of stuff. And Casey says, wrench. Someone sold a rear engine snapper with a 20 horsepower V-twin Briggs. I bet that was fun. Yes, yes. And Casey Samoa says, you build it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I have one. And I've showed you guys like some of the crap that's back there and a peek under the hood. I kind of like the Briggs opposed engine. That's an older engine. I want to fool one of those, and I have a couple of them back there, at least 2 that I know of. I may have more. I don't know. One of them is on a tractor that it's got 4-wheel steering. It's a big old Craftsman, and I may want to see if we can get that to go first before we pickle it. Let's see. It's kind of neat. It's big. Like it's to put rear wheel steering on a tractor with a big motor like that. Wait till you guys see the turn knuckles and the shafts and the the bearing surfaces. It's kind of cool just on that alone. So I would like to just see if we can get it going and play around with it a little bit. Murray made, yeah. Casey says, I won. You own one? Murray made? So that's a thought. That's the kind of stuff that, like, I actually went out, when I got that thing, I was like, well, how popular is the rear wheel steered tractors? Like, is that a thing? I didn't know. So I went onto YouTube and I started searching it to see if there was, people looking for it or whatever. And there's a bunch of videos out there and they have a few thousand views each. So it's not like it's going to be popular because nobody else has it. I think even Mowers and Blowers had one. He was driving around the street. He didn't even get a lot of views on his. So some people won't care at all if it was like Musty, right? And he decided to work on one because he has that following. Because there's another concept to a channel right there. Musty he's not like a lawnmower, small engine guy. He's not like just a car guy. He's not just a Volkswagen guy. And because he started so long ago and he's very unique in his own right, people watch him just to watch him. So his content, and I don't think, I've listened, he has a couple of shows out back in the day as to like why he started and what he was looking to do. And if you guys want to check that out, you got to scroll back a ways. So he kind of fell into something, was very fortunate. He had hurt his back, something similar to me. We're about the same age, and he couldn't really work on trucks anymore and all that. And I think he was in a very unique position, and he must have had a bit of money to invest in this stuff. And his nature, like he wanted to work on his Mustang with his friend, but unfortunately his friend passed away, and that's a very sad story. And eventually he sold all that stuff because it was too painful for him to work on it. But, he was starting to do that as part of his channel. That was a direction he wanted to go in, and he never did. So, you pick your directions sometimes, but sometimes they pick you. Like, you might start off doing something and think, oh, this is going to be great. Like my Jacobson rider, right? There's 3 videos out there. I think it's like 3 or 4. And only one of them is not mine. And it's just not that popular. Right, of that little riding mower, there's nobody doing it. That green rider, right? The guy that does, I forget his name. The guy that started doing all the generators and everything. For some reason, I can't think of his name. I think it was like last year, whatever, or end of the year, last season. He did the silver version of that green rider, that Craftsman rider, and he got like 50,000 views immediately. Because he already has a following. He started off working on generators and got good at it. He didn't really know all that much when he started, but enough. And then he learned and he kept at it and he built his channel. And because he says, he's like, when I started doing this, he's like, there was really nobody doing just generators, certainly not to my satisfaction. He's like, so I got into that niche and he did it intentional and it worked out. And then he started doing other stuff, but he had built up a following. I forget his name. You guys remember his name? Rob says, hold on, wait. Let me back up. Murray made, yeah, I have one Craftsman all-wheel steer. Yeah. They're kind of neat. Casey says, sorry, big thumbs. Robert says, build hydraulic lift into a Mini Cooper and mount a cutting deck under it. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Mini Coopers, by the way, they're expensive. So, yeah, well, all car things are expensive now. Like, it's not like years ago when we used to just get stuff. You know, and you could just fool around, like $50 cars. Actually, my friend found a 1960-something T-Bird in Brooklyn for $40. It was a rust bucket. He's like, I'll buy it for you. Send your friend out and have him drag it home and make a video of you ripping the thing apart. And he's like, really making me on, too. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. No. He's like, I'll buy it. Just send your buddy out, pay him to go and get it, and drop it off, and then rip it apart and shoot it. He's like, there's so many parts there, you'll easily make $1,000. And like, he's probably right. And plus the video, if the video did any good. You know. So that's a thought. Zombie says, James can't remember last name. Yeah, James Condon. Thank you. Yeah, he's real good at that stuff, right? He got better. But he built those views, and his intention, he actually did his intention. He saw a niche, and he went after it. Turns out, he was okay in the beginning, but like a lot of us, you're okay at best. Very few of us are like are going to step into it and be like hitting on all cylinders, right? As a natural, it takes work. You're going to screw up. But he saw a niche, and he kept at it. And I don't know how long he's been doing it. I know it's been a while. Some of the fellas that I watch that I know and that have actually stopped in the channel, they've been doing it like 10 years. Like Zippo's been doing it like 15 or something. I don't know, a long time. You know, and some of these fellas started back in the day, right, when there was a lot less content, and there was just as many of us looking to watch stuff, but there was a lot less of them making stuff. So you have that advantage. Today it's really competitive. So you got to be ready to screw up. And then you got to look at your screw-ups and go, well, how the hell am I going to make this any better? Because there's a lot of competition. And you got to figure, like I always looked at it, like in the beginning, I was like, well, listen, this is going to suck for a while. Because one, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, like with the video stuff. Then when I got a better camera, it broke. Within like a month, I got a Canon M50. And it was a pretty nice camera, and I started working with it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And then it broke. And it was under warranty, which took like more than a month. And I was like, the heck with this, I bought these cameras, which I've been very happy with. And then finally when I got the M50 back, now just as I started to get the channel going, and I got a better camera, and things were looking better, and the channel started to get some views, I was like, screwed again. So, what are you going to do? And I was like, I didn't want to get like the typical camera that everybody got, and I couldn't afford a really nice one. Most people use GoPros, but any of the GoPro like 8s and 9s and some of the earlier ones, they're real finicky. The batteries don't last at all. They tend to stop recording for no reason, and you don't know it. And everything I do is like pretty much one take, except for an occasional intro or something like that. Pretty much everything I do is one take. And these things just screw up. Like they're action cameras. They're no good at low light. I want one, okay? And they're kind of pricey because they're cheap to buy the camera, but when you want to go buy all the mounts and everything else to make it really useful, it adds up quick. Now they make a pretty decent one. Some of the people like the GoPro 8, because of the size and what they wanted to do with it was very specific, and it lended to having certain attachments and things on it. And they were okay with some of the idiosyncrasies. Because I watched a lot of videos on it. I was like, well, it's an option, but I might want to wait, and get something else for now. I would like a small camera. But they're really action cameras, right? Then any low light issues you can see. Look, it's flickering again. I just saw it. I'm staring over here and it's fine because that's the actual monitor for the camera. It's the software. That's annoying. Let's see. Yeah, Casey says, I've only been fixing and selling for 6 years. Well, 6 years, Casey, is a long time. I've been doing it for 3. 6 years is nice. That gives you an opportunity, to sink your teeth into stuff. Mr. Tecumseh's been doing it a while. Here's another fellow that I watch. I forget his name. He's actually an engineer by trade. Not Ken Small Engines, another guy. And he's got a big channel. He started doing like restorations on some lawn tractors and stuff, and they came out beautiful. I think he did a couple of old Cub Cadets, and he's got his whole backyard is like mine. It's a smaller backyard, so his whole backyard is like mine. This stuff is everywhere, you know. Let's see. Rob says there are plenty of GoPro substitutes on the cheap that are very. Yes, that's true. One of the fellows I used to game with, he bought one. When he got married, he and his lady, they at some point they got his and her motorcycles. They live in the UK, and they started doing some touring with some groups. And he was definitely touting one. He hit me up and he's like, look at this video, look at this footage. It's like rock stable. He's like, having any problems with it. So yeah, it's true, and it's a lot less money. So that is an option. And fellas, having an extra camera, it does seem like it might be harder to deal with, and it is in some ways, but sometimes it's neat to have two different angles of what you're doing, because your hands get in the way, you get in the way, things are just in the way, and you might wind up with a shot that you can use that you wouldn't or you know otherwise have. Casey says, I have tons still all over the place. I lack organization skills. Yeah, organization skills take time. You know, I don't mean take time to learn. I mean take time. Like, you actually have to say, all right, I'm not going to do anything else today. I'm not cutting the lawn. I'm not helping anybody around the house. I'm not doing anything that I want to do. I'm not working. I'm going to spend a day, and I'm going to start cleaning up. And I did some of that this morning, actually. Before I started working on this project to sell, I spent at least half the morning. I chilled out because it's Saturday. I worked a little bit late last night. I worked a little bit late tonight. I chilled out. Yes, thanks, Jungle. Happy 4th. Yes, happy 4th, everybody. You were hearing it before. And then I said, you know what? I got to clean up in here again. I cleaned up, I think it was one day last week. I even waxed the floors, and I vacuumed, and I polished, and I cleaned everything, because it gets really filthy in here. And then I did some organization, and I threw out some stuff. And then this morning, I was like, well, all right, we really need to, you know, keep after this. So it's just a matter of, you don't have to be super neat. You just have to do something that says, all right, you know, I got all these tools out. They really should be in this box. And if this box doesn't fit all of it, let me get another box, and I'll put that over here, and I'll put all this stuff. You know, and you kind of just do it. It doesn't have to be like mint, but you just have to put some time into it. Bleach says, hey, Bleach. Says, hi, Arch. The snapper comment I'm working on won't drive past first. I wish my garage was more organized. Yeah, well, you can't wish it, right? Because you actually have to, you know, because then you're going to be in with the genie and everything, and that's not good. Casey says, I just found out most of my internal parts are practically useless because I didn't keep the model numbers for the part. Oh, boy. Rob says, there are organizational skills, and then there are organization. Yeah, because there's levels. And there's all right, let me put it this way. There's neat, right? Then there's anal, right, at the top. Sometimes I used to get more in that. I don't have the heart for it. Then there's like organized and neat. There's clean. There's slob, right? And I'll just tell the story real quick. Now, Rob will remember, right? Our friend Arthur, back in the day, he would, you know, when he first got married and he got his house. So he's got the garage, the basement's downstairs, and we used to rehearse with the band down in his basement. It was one of the places we rehearsed. So like once a week or something, we'd go down there. Usually before his wife got home. And he's a slob, okay? And so not only was the basement, well, the one area in the basement that he had for the band was neat and relatively clean, okay? The garage was disgusting. And crap was everywhere. And a lot of this stuff was like his tools, but some of it was like stuff that you would think he'd want to keep nice. And he wouldn't even create a path for us because you had to walk through, you open up the door, and you had to walk through the garage and then down the steps into the basement at the back of the garage. He wouldn't even create a path. And we're carrying heavy equipment and guitars and beer, right? And there's not even a place to put your feet, and you're hearing things crunch underneath your feet, and you're sort of tripping and rolling. And like, he just never bothered. He's like okay with that. So there's that level, you know, and that's like pretty serious. Like, his workbench is a disaster. There's sawdust. He builds these beautiful guitars, and how he doesn't get them contaminated with the crap everywhere, right? How he even finds anything, I don't know. He was like that too when I used to work with him and his father. And I would clean up. And I would make sure, because he'd be stepping on boards with nails coming out and whatever. And he'd just like, oh, clean up at the end of the day. No, you can't do that. First of all, customers don't like that. If the customer happens to be around, that's not a good idea. Secondly, it's a safety concern, right? Because you'll come down off a ladder and impale your feet. Or rip your leg open. Or trip and fall on your face. And whatever, and it's, you can't find anything. It's a disaster. I mean, you know, it's one of those things. So, you know, think about, like, well, if you want to, like, one of the things that I do, like when I work for Grumman, right, when you go up on an airplane, and I'm going to make a little video on this, and you go up on an airplane, the rule was, and this was, there were a number of rules that, these guidelines. If you're going to work on a particular part on the plane, you take a tote with you. You have to have the tools that are required to take the part out and to install it, whatever that is. And they have to be in that tote, along with the part, replacement part, or the part that you're going to install, right, because you're putting it in. And you climb up on the plane with that. And the inspector comes along. If you happen to have anything else really that is not necessary, you're gonna wind up with a citation and get in a lot of trouble. And the reason for this is because foreign object debris or damage, FOD, right? If you have too many things, you can't account for them. What happened to them? Did somebody take them? Did you drop it? Is it somewhere in the plane? We had failures. There were failures they happen. A small nut or bolt comes loose, a wire connector, a tool, that 10mm socket, and on $1 million plane, the rudder or stick gets jammed, and the plane blows up and the pilot dies, and if he crashes into a place where there's other people, they die too. So these things happen, and you don't want them to happen, and the one way to have it not happen is to be neat and clean and be precise and think about what you're going to do. So when I go to shoot something, like I even did that today, when I go to film something, that kind of training comes in really handy, because I set the camera up, I clear off the work area, I get out the tools. I think about what am I going to do? How am I going to shoot it? I think about what the angle is. And then I think about, all right, well, what tool do I need? Because I don't want to be pausing the recording to go and get a tool or a supply or a lubricant or a rag. I lay it out. I do have totes that I put my stuff in, or I lay it on the table, and then I start recording. And that way I don't have to interrupt the recording. And the other thing is, too, is I don't have to edit the recording. So if there's long spaces that I want to get rid of, I don't have to figure out, well, how do I edit it? Okay, it's much easier to edit. And if you're letting those long spaces go while you're fooling around and doing nothing and not really saying anything and nobody can hear you, right, that's going to weaken your video for sure. That's going to affect how your video does, how people perceive what you're doing. You want to minimize that, if not eliminate it, if you can. So having it more streamlined makes the whole process go much smoother, and you can predict the outcome better, and you can get stuff done in one take. Let's see, Rob says, wait, let me back up. Okay, so says, not sure, Bleach says, not sure my sniper will move past first. I noticed the rubber is dried to the engine disc. Yeah, once that's why I don't like these things, right? Because of that transmission. You're going to have to replace that whole drive friction clutch thing. It's old. And I'm surprised it moved at all. And so generally you have to replace that. There's the friction wheel, and I think there's this other ring inside there too that adds additional friction. You're going to have to look into that and replace all that. It's a pain in the neck. It's not terrible to do, but it's a very weak thing, and it's not meant to last. Let's see, Bleach says, I put my carbs and mufflers in a plastic tote. Plastic totes rule. Totally. I don't have enough of them. I really do need to invest more in them. I have a few, and then I got a lot of boxes, but plastic totes are the best. Rob says, like in surgery, everything that is in the kit needs to be accounted for when done. Yeah, because otherwise it's in the person. And that has happened. Okay, not to mention they put like marks on, like a magic marker, like this kidney, not that one, right? Because that's happened, whereas they cut the wrong kidney out. Yeah, well, you know, people make mistakes. The idea is you come up with principles and stuff, and you know, ways of doing things and how you're going to move, and you've got to clear stuff out of your way from your feet so you're not tripping. Bleach says, the wildfire smoke has been bad here. It finally went away so I can grill on the 4th. Nice. Yeah, we had a little bit come back. One of my videos is going to have some footage. I forget what video is, what I was working on. It was something. It was bad here. Really bad here. And I took some footage of it. So, yeah, that's good. I don't know if I am going to barbecue or not. We'll have to see. Let me see what time it is. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit longer. So I want to watch the video, and then after the video, I'm done because I'm tired tonight. I've been working on this Honda GCV 160, and it's one of those where it's the latest, one of the later model ones, and it had to be retuned because it would not run. You know, it just wouldn't. You know, you start it up, the choke would come on, it would run okay. When the choke went off, it was just hunting and surging and hunting and surging, and everything was clean. The whole machine's in really nice shape. Even when I took the carburetor apart, it was just like pretty much mint inside. But you have to tweak the jets because the EPA had just crushed Honda. It's not just the EPA; it's the NGOs and everything else. And the Craftsman did this with some of those little weed whackers where they didn't even put a choke blade on them. And I made a video on that. And when they come out of the factory, when everything is brand new, they will run for a time. It's really planned destruction. And then as soon as things get a little bit out of tolerance, they won't run properly anymore. In some cases, you won't even get it started. And there's nothing to fix, per se, because nothing really is broken. It's designed like this. So you have to rejet it. And if you go with that Honda engine, because it's got an automatic choke, if you go too far, the engine will start to foul up and flood before the choke unloads, before the engine gets warm enough and the choke unloads. And so you'll damage the engine, and it won't run, and it'll blow soot. So you can't just and that's what I was doing today. I was actually showing out, like, if you drill it out too far, this is what happens. So you can only take it out a little bit, and then, you know, hopefully it fixes the problem. So let's see. Bleach says, let's see. Let me see. Bleach says, any tips on cleaning garage? Yes, I changed the drive disc rubber. Good. Yeah, because it should work then. But either that or you missed something. Casey says, cleaning the garage. Casey says, used to grab them during the curb days. Fill the tote and keep reusing it. Yeah, totes. And I've got, let me get through. Hold on. I'm having troubles gaining subs. I'm at 1422. Been at the YouTube thing for 13 years. Okay. And Rob says plant obsolescence. All right, so let me back up. Yeah, totes, totally. Also, I don't know if you guys have it. Rob remembers from back in the day, right? We had a dairy barn around the corner, and I have a lot of, like, those plastic crates and everything. I'm sure he still has a bunch. Those plastic milk crates and stuff. Those are really nice because you can partially see in them, and they stack nice as long as the stuff doesn't, like, overflow, which is, you know, kind of some of mine do on the ones on the top. Yeah, have many, yeah, because they're good, right? They tried to make it, like, illegal after all at some point, like a fine if you're caught with it, and people gave up on that. Yeah, you've even bought some. Wow. Yep, yeah, those rule. And the plastic totes and the Rubbermaids, and that's just awesome. Let me back up a little bit. Yeah, so when your garage is the kind of thing where, what do you want to do with the garage? First you have to think about, is it storage? Is it where I work? Is it both? Right? So it can't really be both well, because that never works really well. Like there's not a lot of storage in here. There's some up top, so vertical storage. If you have enough ceiling, start putting shelves and whatever, and get anything that's light enough. Make the shelves as best as you can, and get anything that you think is light enough for you to be able to pull down, that you can store above, that you don't have to make crazy bracketry, and that when you get on a ladder or a step stool, that you can lift it, you know, and pull it down without making a mess, dropping it, or hurting your back or hurting yourself. Look up, because everything winds up on the floor or piled in the corner. And if you have corners, either make shelves or whatever and start storing things as vertical as possible, and make sure you label everything. But it's really hard to make a one area like do both double duty. Let's see, Bleach says, he says love milk crates. Yeah, attic storage. Yeah, some garages have like a little attic area or even a floored area. It's just harder to get up there. And if you have some heavy stuff, break it down to where it's light enough to be able to carry and move up, and you'll just have to make more trips. But once it's stored a little bit neater, because like I said, I have stuff up there. In fact, I was looking at a loft area I have in the other side of the building, and I'm like, I am not using that properly. I'm like totally underutilizing it. I need to get up there and do something about that so I can shove more stuff, especially some of the cold storage, you know. He says, enough room to move around in the garage to do projects in there. Yeah, that's why. Flip downstairs, 300 pounds, yeah. Yeah, because the flip is nice because you can put it up and have it out of your way. You need to make an area that you feel is going to be big enough for what you want to work on. And then you kind of carve out that area, and then you look at everything that you have, and you go, you're going to wind up looking at it, and you're going to go, oh my God, is this so much? You know, so if there's a place outside that you can store stuff, get bigger totes and shove everything in there and stack it neat. You know, get a tent or something, whatever. Like I've seen people do like a big car tent. The best car tents though are the ones that are the round tops, like the Quonset style, especially if you live in like where I am in the Northeast with the wind and the snow. Yeah, I have like Juan gave me this. It's basically the same thing as I had a bunch of years back, but it's like a house tent. It's like for a car, but it's got the V roof, and those roofs, the wind takes it and the snow beats it up. I have it. I don't know if I want to even bother putting it up because I know what happened last time, and then everything inside of it is going to get ruined and I can't get at it. My garage is like 70, 80 years old. My garage is like 100 years old. This thing fell down. Doesn't matter how old it is, you know, just see if you can fix up an area, beef it up. When I lived in Seaford, I had a little crawl space, and I just ran, you know, you could stand between the beams, and I just ran 2x4s and scrap wood and skids, right? Things on skids because it would leak in there and it would get wet. And I put everything up. We had all kinds of car parts in there, engines and everything. It was hard to get in and out, but I was a young man, so it was a little bit easier in that regard. You know, you find places, you know, let's see, it's like an old pole barn, his garage. And Casey says, toolboxes, I love them too much. I have like 70. Yes. Yeah, and Rob helped me build a lot of it. He helped me do a lot of stuff. And a bunch of my friends did, yeah. Yeah, they're fun, these old buildings. And also toolboxes. By the way, speaking of toolboxes, Bleach, if you want to clean up, start hitting garage sales and deals, right? Closeouts, right? Look for toolboxes, any kind, because they don't have to be just for tools. They can also be for stuff. You know, put stuff in there. You know, carbs in an old Craftsman toolbox or something. You just have to be inventive. Use what you have. And cardboard is fine if you double bottom it and tape it. So put an extra layer of cardboard on the bottom and take packing tape and like beef it up, and it will last for, you know, a year or two, you know, especially if it's dry and you can shove it up on a shelf where it's supported. You know, you just got to make do. You just got to think, well, how do I clean? You know, just find ways to be more organized. Also, cleaning is going to make you more organized. Like if you took everything out of your garage that was laying on the floor and in the corners, and you put a hose and soap in there and broomed it all out, you know, or pressure washer, and then looked at it, and then looked at the pile that you had outside, it would change your mind about the way you look at the garage, because you'd be looking at it and you're going, wow, I haven't seen this since I moved in. You know, I don't know if I want to just shove everything back in again, you know. Bleach says, I have a bad back and my pain in my legs sometimes. I have to step away from projects. He says, I do have a Craftsman toolbox I keep my tools in. Yeah, get another one. I know, I'm the same way. I've got the issues with my feet and my legs, and I got a bad back. So I schedule like when I'm feeling good. That's why I slowed down this morning and I just kind of neatened up, because I wasn't really like strong enough and out of pain enough to go and start my day. So I thought, well, I can noodle around, right? I can pick up a bunch of tools and put them away and then go sit down and watch some YouTube and for 15-20 minutes. And then I'll get up, you know, because it's the morning. I'll stretch a little bit. I'll go move around, clean up, put some more broom sweep, and bang out the rugs, and I'll go sit back down because I was still in kind of pain and sore from yesterday. I cut the whole lawn. I finished up the job. I was up late, and I was shot. You know, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to go slow. Let's see. Rob says, I bought 10 dozen HD steel shelf units. Nice. And 4 Craftsman rollaways. Nice. Most of my rollaway stuff in my top boxes, they were all bought on discounts. They're kind of eclectic, but that's what I could afford. And I made use of them, right? You know, if you don't have the money, you know, scrape up what little bit you can. Go check out some garage sales or whatever. It doesn't have to match, and you don't need to snap on with the wardrobe for like $40,000, right? Not that you wouldn't want that, but, you know, that's not going to happen in my life. Let's see. Rob says, had a Sears scratch and dent. Yeah, totally. Well, you love that stuff, right? You like that. Some of mine were scratch and dents from the Sears around the corner over here that was here. You know, they were like a little bit banged up. The top box I have, that blue one, has got the really nice slides that you pull out and they just roll right out, and you just give them a shove and they roll back in, and then they latch and they won't come back out. You have to lift the handle a little bit and then it unlocks. That's a really nice set of boxes. I wish I had more of those. If I was going to buy anything, I'd want them to be like that. The others are the old slides that you grease, and they're tough to pull out and shove back in again. They're not as nice. My top box, which is, I think, is in a way is being underutilized. You just kind of like poop, and it goes and then click. Oh, that's nice. But that's the only one I have like that. But, you know, I cherish it. This box over here, this little box on my table, I want to do like a video on that one. My sister got me that when I was like 9th grade, 8th grade, right? And then there's that bigger Craftsman, that old Craftsman box. Around the same time, my brother David gave it to me with a bunch of S&K tools, which I still have, right? So those two boxes are old, right? They've been around for a long time. And that machinist box, I don't know, I picked that up somewhere, some garage sale. You know, let's see, metal shelf. Yeah, see, let's see. Bleach says, you're lucky you have a lift. I sit on the ground or in a chair and work on my stuff for my neighbor gave me. Yeah, that's how I used to do it. I was like, you know, I scraped up the money to buy the lift because of my back and my legs. And I wanted to be able to work longer so that I could make money and be more comfortable and not constantly hurt myself. And I remember it was really like that one moment. I was working on this nice green rider, and it was a Sunday, and it was here in the shop, and it was like a Sunday, and I felt okay. And I grabbed the floor jack, big car floor jack that I have. I rolled it underneath. I went to go like this, and I went, uh-oh, I can't move. Uh-oh. I was down for a week. And I said, that's it. I got to buy a lift. I'm like, and even my pain doctor's like, he's like, well, what did you do? He's like, why are you improving? I'm like, because I'm not constantly hurting myself. I bought this lift table. And like, I tell them about the lift table, and they're like, they don't quite get it until I showed them like some video of it. And he's like, oh, now I get it. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that makes a huge difference. And then the tractor with the forklifts that I made. so I'm not trying to shove things that won't move. And the hoist, and I put an electric hoist occasionally. I latch onto the end of the table, and I drag stuff from the yard into here, right? And I just started to change my practices so that this way I wasn't crippling myself. Let me catch up. Casey says, I'm using a big U.S. General dinged up as is discount. Yeah, I like the U.S. Generals. Fine, nothing wrong with that. Was it the yellow one? Is it one of those? He says, Zombie says, Bleach, I'm working in the elements. Rain, snow, cold, humid. Casey says, everything outside. Rob says, tools are wonderful. They are, I know. I love tools. You guys see a lot of the footage that I do. I was working outside the past few days. All I had was outside. Rob will tell you, I had a shed that you could barely stand in. There was enough for, it was a little steel crap shed. I negotiated with my sister. It was enough for one rollaway, to put a motor on an engine stand, and for me to stand. And I think I had a little work surface in there. And then I made a big outdoor box out of plywood. I had an air compressor in there and a welder, and the top of it was a work surface with a vise. I put it on patio block, and then eventually I made a better workbench with some understorage, and I think I put the vise on there. And I just had little cubbies and stuff that I would store stuff in, and everything was outside. And in the driveway occasionally, in the backyard, on that area. And that's where I did a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff for years, right? Rob had the big garage. I didn't have shit. I had a garage for years ago, and then I made an apartment out of it. He had the basement, and it was like a car and a half garage. It wasn't quite like a 2-car garage. It was more like a car and a half. It was nice, though. Rob has a nice Chevelle, and he did that in there. So that was a cool place to work. And like I said, I got what, like 3 work tables out there in the yard, just on the grass. Mick says, hey Mick, thanks for stopping in. Yo, me old mucker. So yeah, shout out to Mick. Robert says, dude, you proud of my shop? Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure. Rob's got a nice shop. So I was just saying, Mick, that some of you guys that actually have big channels and medium size and small channels and really big channels have actually come to support me. So I wanted to say thank you, and I don't know if you heard that, and thanks for the support, for hitting 1 million views and everything. But you fellas stop in. Zippo was in last week, and it's just really nice to see it. It's like from what I understand, the small engine guys, we stick together, right? So Mick is big. I'm sure you people know, and if you don't know, I don't know where you've been. You must have been living in the back of your garage, okay, or in your basement, because you go check out his stuff. All right, he's got some really cool stuff. He's a brother from across the pond, and Mick's Mowers for those. And like I say, do you guys know him? How can I say, do you guys know Mick? Because if you don't, how do you not know Mick? Right, Mick? So I want to say thanks to him for stopping in as well. Yeah, it's kind of nice. And like I was saying, 1 million views is a lot for your small channel. It takes a while, right? It can take a long time. Now, let me scroll back up. Was it Bleach? Is it Bleach? Who said it? Casey? Which one said? I've been doing it for a bunch of years. Let me roll up. I wanted to hit that, but then we went on a tangent. Which one of you guys said that? Been doing it for a while. Damn it. I'm not going to stuff naming the big U.S. element. Tools are a wonderful thing. Oh wow, we've been chatting away here for a while. How long ago was that? Okay, Bleach said he's been doing it for 13 years. Okay, yeah, well, I want to, so here's a piece of advice, okay? I wanted to get back to, I was talking about a young fellow that I watch, right? So I want to stay on him for a minute. And this is Redneck Computer Geek. He's a younger fella, and he's been doing a lot of stuff, mostly with tractors, lawn tractors, and he has another channel where he was doing lawn tractor mud racing and conversions. And he went on, his version of a tirade about a week or so ago on how the perfect storm came down on him. The cost of living going up, the cost of electricity going up. Nobody's interested in these kinds of machines anymore. I think he's got a young son. His name is John. And he's coming of age a little bit, very young, but coming of age. And instead of those little cars, those little electric cars, whatever. He's getting him into like the mud machines, and I think he was, obviously, of course, hoping that he could continue doing what he was doing with the YouTube channel and get him into what he was into when he was younger. And that's natural, right? Unfortunately, that's not to be, because the world is changing, and it just happens. And he's been doing YouTube for a really long time, and he's had some success. And then he started going on about, well, I'm one of the first guys that put a lawnmower carb on a car engine, and I made it run, and somebody else took my idea, and now they've built an entire channel, and they're really successful. Like, first of all, you didn't invent that, bro. Okay? You might have been one of the first people that happened to put it up there. And, I'm going to take a page out of Mick's here, because I've often said that there's things that I learned from everybody. And one of the things that I remember from Mick had on his show, he used to do a Saturday show and a lot. And he had a younger guy on, and the guy was going on about how he knew a lot about videography, and he knew all this crazy stuff and graphics, and he's going to bring something new, right? And Mick being, he's not as elderly or old as I am, but, Mick being an older guy, a man of some wisdom, realized that that's fluff. He's like, so as one of the advices was, he says, did you ever do any of this kind of video, like the basic stuff? He's like, no. He's like, somebody's already done that. He's like, okay, but what about this one? No, I don't want, people have already done that. Well, I don't know how inventive you can be, right? But Mick's thing was like, yeah, but do you have your video out there on that subject? Because if you want to do a YouTube channel in, let's say, this vein, and this is an example, where's your video on that subject? Maybe it will be better. It doesn't matter. Where's your video? Make a video. And I thought about that, and I had a couple of successes with a couple of videos and a couple of years ago. And I looked at these videos and I said, based upon that thought, right, because that was the first thing I thought. I was like, okay, where's my fucking video on this? So I did this one, and it came out all right. About a year or so later, I got better at doing things, more proficient. And I thought, geez, that video that I had on that, it went pretty good. I got a lot of views. It's actually making a few bucks, but honestly, I'm not all that happy with it. I think I could do a better version of it. So I did another one. And you know what? That one did even better. And this young fellow, he just didn't get that point. And not just the fellow that Mick was talking to, but the guy, Redneck, he's like, I'm done. Well, what are you giving up for? If you did a video 6 years ago on how to do something, do it again. You're going to be better at it. You got better equipment and you know more about it now. Like, why aren't you just start there, right? Do it again. Let me catch up. Yeah, Rob says plenty of vloggers never get near 1 million views. That's true. Bleach says, yeah, 13 years, me. Okay. Bleach says, I mark my videos for adults because swearing. I taught myself to work on stuff by watching YouTube videos. Sure, that's good. Okay. That's good. Now, maybe don't swear. I mean, I used to watch this guy. He did, like, automotive work. And he was such an angry, cussing mother effer. And it got played after a while. It got real played. And I don't know what happened to him. He moved, and I just was like, he was just felt to be so uptight and so angry. And I'm like, that sells for a very short period of time. But who the hell wants to watch that on a regular basis? So Redneck was thinking, well, what am I going to do next, right? Well, you know what? Maybe it's a good opportunity to take a look at what you're doing. You've had a fairly successful channel. Now it maybe is petering out for a number of reasons. Maybe it's partly, the perfect storm, or maybe it's a combination of things. Maybe it's a really good time to like reevaluate and choose your direction, or maybe even go back over some of the stuff that you did that offered some success and reinvigorate it, right? So Bleach, one of the things you could do is don't mark your videos that way, because that might be hurting you, right? Just that alone, because these algorithms, they don't like stuff like that, Let's see what Rob says. So Bleach says, I enjoy the snappers, such fun machines. Rob says, Bleach, that dates you. Arch and I didn't have the internet. We had to open books and watch Friends. Yeah. That's true. So there's a thought. Uncheck that box and control your mouth. Just try it. I mean, because from what I understand of YouTube's algorithm, because I've been studying it and looking into it, you know, it's a YouTube, it's a business. Okay. When they first started doing it, it was about data collection, opening up new horizons. It was the Wild West. Okay. But it's not anymore. It really is a business, and it's still about data collection, but it's advertisers drive the YouTube channels. Look around, they just do. And if you want to make money, you have to consider the advertising element of it. So however it is you set yourself up, you want to consider that, because YouTube's algorithm, and it's not one algorithm, it's many algorithms, is considering that. Even if you don't want to advertise, okay, that's an option. I'm not saying you have to, but one needs to think about, well, how does YouTube think? So I'll give you an example. All right, one of the statistics that YouTube has, and this is very important, is the average view duration for any video is 6 minutes. Just let that sink in. Doesn't matter how long the video is. If it's a video that is not a short, and YouTube was typically known for long format, half hour and up, the average person watching YouTube is 6 minutes. Even if your damn video is 7 minutes long. Now, if it's 7 minutes long and they watch for 6 minutes, comparatively speaking, they watched almost your entire video. So they watched over 80 to 90% of your video. And so at 6 minutes, if you made an 8-minute video, you're at 80 to 90%. That is a statistic that YouTube looks at and goes, wow, this guy, he's nailing it, statistically speaking. At 6 minutes, if it's a half-hour video, all right, it's still average, but it's considered to be just like everybody else that's in that average. So you're not going to get pushed. Right? So how do you get a longer watch time? Longer watch time is like absolutely imperative. So two ways, right? One way is to shorten your video. If you've dragged a video out to a half hour, and knowing that the statistic is, and look at your YouTube, metrics, and you'll see it. Look at the average watch time for your videos. Go over there, and I'll do a video on this actually, and I'll go through this, and I'll make bullet points, and we'll go through this together. So shorten the video, right? Take out anything that is not a highlight, right? Don't make long format videos because they're long and you let the camera go. Make a shorter video, make the long video long, and when you're editing, right, you look at it and go, cut it. I had a hard time with that, I still do, right? Because we all think everything that we say and do is awesome. I know I think that way. That's ego, right? But other people don't, all right? So you have to consider that. Let's see. Yeah, he says, Bleach says, I was doing lives on weed, on weed. I stopped doing that because it wasn't fun. Right, because you're stoned. Rob says, we did that long before you did, Bleach. Yeah, Casey says, I honestly started doing videos of engines and equipment running for a video professional. Nice. Casey says, free video storage. Bleach says, it says 80% of people that watch me are not subscribed and 20% of my subscribers. That's actually very high. All right, so that's another statistic that I'll mention. So a lot of the people that I watch, regardless of who they are, they can have big channels. They'll all say that, right? They'll say things like, I looked at my metrics the other day and I got 50,000 views on that video, and about 1% of you had subscribed to my channel. And I get consistently 50, 60,000 views on these videos, and about 1% of you have subscribed to my channel. That's how it is, right? That's just how it is, right? And you can beg and try to ask them to subscribe to your channel. And a lot of people, here's a thought. Don't use the word subscribe, because especially us older people, when we hear subscribe, we hear, oh, I got to sign up and I have to pay for this. Because remember now, a lot of people don't know YouTube. Like, it's gotten worse, actually. Because for the younger people that are coming off of, some of these other formats, the language has a lot to do with it. They're longer formats that you hear on YouTube, and when somebody hears subscribe, they think they have to go do something. most people don't know where our homepage is. They've never gone to our home pages. They've never looked at a playlist. They couldn't find it and wouldn't know what it meant even if you said the words and dragged them right to it. And then you start saying subscribe and they think, oh, I need a subscription. I had a magazine subscription years ago. I hated it. I got rid of it. I subscribed. I took that penny off of the thing I got in the mail to get 20 free CDs. And next thing you know, it cost me $100 a month. That's what they're thinking, right? For those of you that kind of remember back, use the word follow. Right? That's what Facebook has. Follow. Follow this person. Because that's really what we're doing. Is like you guys are following me. I follow some of you guys. I follow other people. If I follow a lot, I go and check on them consistently. Usually I kind of, if I have like a Saturday or Sunday where I'm not, or one day during the week where I take some time off and I don't feel good and I'm in pain, and I just want to watch YouTube videos, I start going down my list to see what people are up to. And then sometimes I get hung up on one person I might like binge watch. But I follow them. I don't think of subscription. Now, subscription on YouTube is weird because you have to sign up and it's like you're making your own channel. And people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. So, but then they really can't comment. They can't, do all those things that drive our algorithms up. You have to consider that. So if you knowing that, just try to get more people to watch and stay watching longer. Forget about the subscribers. I've had a lot of people that have said it doesn't matter. Subscribers don't matter. In the bigger scheme of things, how much money is made and how much my stuff is viewed has nothing to do with the subscribers. End of story. When it comes to money and views, it has nothing to do with the subscribers. Subscribers don't drive channels. Most channels. Now, I actually want to appeal more to my subscribers because I do the how-tos and I know how the statistics work on the how-tos. Right? That you might make money there and get more popular, but most of those people were never going to hang out on a Saturday night or watch something cool that I made or I'm working on, right? And I like that too. I like you guys. Like I don't want just to do how-tos. Because they're hard to do and they're different. And even though they might make money and might make my channel bigger and all that, I also want to sit here and hang out and kvetch or work on some old thing. Which reminds me, I got to cut it. All right, we got to go to the video. Hold on, let me see. Let me catch up. I want to go to the video. Plus, I got to urinate. Hold on. Oh, it says. Let me back up. I add a lot out of videos on small engines. That Bleach says. Moa says, all right, guys, getting crazy here. My dogs are going nuts. Have a great 4th of July week. Casey's out. Rob says, some of the vids I watch, the vlogger does his subscribe begs, stating it costs nothing but help the channel. Yeah, and a lot of people will start that off at the beginning. And I heard one fellow, because I watch videos on how to make videos and how to do better on YouTube. And one of the fellows I was watching says, that's like not a good idea because before you've given the viewer anything, you're demanding something from them. And I don't think that's a good idea. Bleach says, a YouTube fan sent me a weed bowl and gummy CBD fan mail. I just want to inspire people, not to influence them. Yeah, but influence is inspiration. And if you want to influence people, you have to kind of get to the point of what it is that you're doing. So if you want to influence them, right, and just influence them, like you got to think about, well, what in each video, what am I trying to influence? Right? If you actually want more subscribers and want more views, not in all videos, in one everything is like a video, one video at a time, one moment at a time. So in this one moment, when I start the camera and I go to show this thing, what am I trying to actually do here? So for me, I'm not trying to influence anybody or inspire anybody if I'm not inspired. If I'm doing a how-to and I'm thinking, one of the best comments I get on my how-tos is, Arch, I was kind of sitting on the fence. I wasn't sure I could do this. But then after watching your video, I felt confident enough. I went and did it, and I was successful. Thank you. Cha-ching! Right? Yeah, that's a success. Right? And how I try to get to that is I keep thinking about, well, how do I really get that person? First, I want to get that person on the fence. I want to try to reach that person on the fence. If they're not anywhere near the fence, then this video is not for them. If they think they're on the fence, I want to see if I can break it down and give them that confidence that they can do it and get them over, right? Now, I've gotten a little bit better at that. Now, like I said, I want to try to also get to subscribers. Like, what can I do I think that's interesting that people want to hang out and just watch me work on this thing? Well, that has a lot to do now with my quirky personality, because now that I'm not as concerned about working the cameras and whether or not the lighting is right and all those things, because it occupies my brain space, I can relax into it a little bit more and just be an asshole, right? Be weird. Because I am, because I don't have to hide it. Let's see. Bleach says, I smoke weed every day now, but I rarely do it. Wait, I was smoke weed every day, but yeah, because that I find it to be an ambition killer. So it could, and it'll change your perception, which might be fine for you in your own head, but if you want to make a video, you might want to rethink that, because you need to be in a good headspace for it. It'd be like trying to be drunk and make a video on how to. I don't think it would work good. Let's see. Bleach says, I always say sub at the end, not the beginning. Yeah, you know, and even, don't even say it. Most of the time I don't say it. Every now and then I'll say it, and I'll push it. I might do it on a couple of videos back to back, because I did a couple of videos back to back, and I'll say it. But a lot of times I don't say it, because it's not gonna, it doesn't, when anytime I hear, even some of my favorite people that I watch, there was a long time before I clicked the sub button. And it wasn't because they told me to do it. Like, I never really went out and, when somebody said, hit the like button, like and subscribe, let's go, driver. I'm like, no, I never actually went, I don't know, maybe other people do, I can't speak for them. But for me personally, anytime anybody said, you know, hit the like and subscribe button, I never did. When I hit the like and subscribe button, there's some other spirit moves me, but it ain't them saying it. Although, if they tell me that they have a different channel, or that there's something in the link in the description that I should check out, that I will think about. And I'm like, okay, as soon as he hits a commercial or something, I'm going to click the description thing and go look down and see what he's talking about. Or check this link out here, okay? So, there's something to me. Something to, you know, think about that. Bleach says a video. Bleach says, I'm a backyard small engine hack a bit. Rob says, I still keep some weed around for some insomnia nights. Bleach says, yes, I'm never high when I work on some of my videos. And Rob says, subscribing depends on whether I want to hear from them in the future. Yeah, absolutely. And that has nothing to do with that they said it. Just doesn't. I think the subliminal messaging, if you can find a way to kind of suck somebody in, like the real art is in sucking that person in and make, like Rob says, I think I want to see this guy again, this person. Okay, I want to see them again. You know, let's maybe check it out. You know. I think we've been doing this. I've been doing. Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to get to play the video tonight, because it's already. We've been fooling around, chatting, and it's an hour and 48 minutes. So I'll go a little bit longer, and then I'll have to. I'm going to just release the video, I think, because that video is like 30-40 minutes long, which is fine by me, because one of the things I like about the lives is, especially with the multimedia stuff that I have here, is that if I want to divert into a different direction, I can. I can start watching your videos or somebody else's. And since we got on this subject, I don't really want to end it so fast, because you guys got me on this subject. Although I got to go take a leak. Hold on, stand by. Hold on, you're not coming with me either. You got to wait. All right, I'm coming. Oh, did you wash your hands? Yes, fellas. I washed my effing hands. You know, if I washed them. This is, let's see. What are up? Wait, where's my? Where do I get my glasses? Are they up here? Let me put them over here. Let's see. Yeah, Rob says, I did finally end all magazine subscriptions. So did I. Bleach says, so for content. Rob says, you could have taken a mic into the jar like you do on a telephone. Yeah, I know, right? Like, oh, hold on, I gotta shove one out. Hold on. You know, so I watched this guy. I think I mentioned this a while back. I watched this guy. Unfortunately, with the Ukraine crap that's going on, a lot of those guys, their channels got basically blocked, right? And they were watching me, and I was watching them. And I think I mentioned this one guy, I think he was Russian. He did a Soviet-era motorcycle with a sidecar. And I watched a bunch of his videos before that. And they were kind of crappy. But, you know, those people there, they don't have a lot of money. For a while, I was watching some of their stuff. Their garage setups are totally different. Where they work out of and all that is just different. Their access to supplies is different. The way they go about things is different, which is why I was watching them. I also watched the Indians and, you know, the people from India and Pakistan, whatever, on the street do all that work. And you ever see those guys rebuild a battery or a diesel engine? Anyway, or I also watched this woman. She's from, I think, Korea or something. She's a little girl, right? Small woman, and she does amazing rebuild work on engines and electric motors. So I like watching that sort of stuff. And so I was watching this guy, and I'm like, yeah, you know, it's interesting to see what he was doing. But like one of his videos, I remember he was welding something on the ground, some piece of crap, burnt shit welder, and it was just coming out like crap. And I was sort of laughing at it. And then like the next video I saw him come out with was this sidecar, and I was gobsmacked. It's like everything came together for this guy. He must have got better equipment. He did it in a different building. He laid everything out, his videography, the music, the movement of the cameras. This was an effing masterpiece, and it floored me. And it's like he just went from, not zero to hero, but he just leveled up so much, and it just finally all came together. And obviously this took a considerable intent. He must have really looked at what he was doing and tried to really figure out like how, you know, maybe he got to a level with his YouTube channel and he said, all right, this is what's going to happen now, right? I'm done fooling around. This is what's going to happen. So that's just, I was just amazed. And I've seen that kind of stuff happen before. Bleach says, how do I find garage setup videos? Rob says, love the third world ingenuity. Yes, it's the ingenuity. That's well put, that ingenuity. So Bleach says, how do I find a garage setup? Like, oh, there's plenty of them up there. There's plenty of them. You know, leveling up, Bleach, is like, can happen incrementally, right? And everything that you do. Like one thing is, I've seen the statistics on, and Rob knows, don't make your videos better, make your audio better. More people will turn off a video, not because the video quality isn't good, but because the audio isn't good. So if you want to level up, say for example, like I struggle with my audio and I have experience with audio, and sometimes I'm just, I did that, I don't like that, now I got to live with it for a little while, and I'm like, I did that, oh, that's better, okay, I'll keep that. And then I move things around or something changes and I'm like, I don't like that, I really need to bring the mic this way, and constantly thinking about something like that. So there's a place to start. You don't level up and like master everything. You master it one little improvement at a time, each one little thing, and you just got to look at what you're doing and say, all right, you know what, maybe my audio isn't all that good. How do I make the audio better? And then start looking at videos, go out and search videos on how to improve your audio. What do you need to do? What does it mean to improve your audio? How do you go about doing it? What does this term mean? What does that term mean? That's just an example. How do I, let's say your focus isn't always all that good. Like if I sit back here, like my camera's focus breathing, right? Watch, see it? See it? There it is right there. See, I got it to do it. See it? That's called focus breathing. Okay, certain cameras will do that with certain lenses. Some cameras will just do that even if you have everything right. Okay, this lens on this camera will do that, but the focal length for this lens is where I want it. The better lens is over there. It's on this one. Okay, that one won't do it. Even though that camera body and its sensor is not as good as the one that's aiming at me, but that's just a much better lens. So I just don't. That lens is the focal length is wrong. So as long as I'm sitting here, it's fine. It's when I'm back here. Right, so what the hell does that mean, right? Well, that's leveling up. It's like one little thing, learn one little thing at a time and keep learning. Bleach says, same stuff 13 years. I live by main highway, work outside sometimes. Yeah, I know. I got all kinds of shit going on, right? One of my favorite things to do is people ask me, what's that horn? What's that foghorn, right? Well, I remember one time, like a couple of times in a row, I was recording and the foghorn went off, right? And I'm thinking to myself, here's my options. Okay, I could retake it. That's option one. Means I got to redo what I just said somehow. That's if I don't want the horn in there. It's loud, right? It's for the whole neighborhood to hear. It's the firehouse. We like this horn. We actually like it. It's old school. I could leave it in. I could retake it. And if I leave it in, I could get mad, okay, and be pissed off that it ruined my video somehow, as if that's going to happen because of the horn. And then what I've been doing more lately is like, it'll go off. I'm like, oh, I'm out of here, lunchtime. And then I just cut. I just cut the clip. No matter what I'm doing, no matter what I'm saying, you know what's a good opportunity for me to shut my mouth, cut the clip hard right there. And then when I pick up the next clip segment, whatever else I'm doing, and I would, the first couple of times I did that, I'm like, that's actually funny, and it was perfect too because it shut me the fuck up, right? And I was able to cut it, and it makes sense. And people are going, "What the hell is that horn?" Because people have asked me, "What the hell is that horn?" I don't even explain it in the video. I have to explain it later, right? So it's perfect. It's like bait, you know. It's putting the hook out there, right? Let's see. Let's see. Rob says, take the actual video last as it takes the most effort. Start with the audio, then move to the lighting and video. Yes, that's excellent advice. Bleach says, when I work garage, you don't notice the traffic as much. Bleach says, I have the foghorn here too. Yeah, use it. Embrace it, right? So, yes, lighting and audio. Now, the cars and stuff like that, right? You got to keep your microphone close to you. And if that's on top of your camera, I watched one of the things that you were doing, you walk too far away. We can't hear you, right? That right there, when that starts to happen, if you're too far away, the only other option you have is to go into your edit and boost the levels. And then if there's noise, if you have a good enough editor, which I may even start a small little series for people on DaVinci. I'll get to that in a minute. The editor that I use, you can use it on you can use it on Apple, and you can use it on, it has to be on a computer though, like a laptop. You can use it on, PC, and you can tweak the audio on that. And I may wind up doing some of those videos in the future because DaVinci, I did a couple of videos on a live, and DaVinci must have found them. This is a professional company, and they reached out to me and they asked me if I would be willing to consider working with them. And they said, well, we'll have to send you a contract and you have to review the contract. So I'm waiting for them to send me the contract. And we'll see if I like it and if I'm willing to work with them, because it's very powerful, and it is, you're going to have to learn it. But in a situation like that, let's say you did a scene, you don't want to retake it, it's too late, you come back and you realize, oh, I fucked up, I can't really hear myself. When I boost the levels, there's a lot of noise in the background. Well, DaVinci, the paid version, has an AI noise reduction. You can either do it manually and tweak the settings, or you can let the AI do it. And that's damn powerful, okay? Let's see. Bleach says, when I work garage, you don't notice the same traffic. I have the foghorn. Brett says, hey, what's up, Brett? Good evening, Arch. He says, I joke about copyrighted music, motorcycles going by. Yeah, you had that copyright thing. By the way, that copyright tune, that when I was checking out your channel, I had to basically just wipe you out of there because it blew the copyright on me. And I'm like, well, I tried picking it out, but we couldn't hear you. That was the thing that you did right there. You had the music and then you were talking. And you didn't rebalance the levels, so nobody knows what you were saying, and you could barely hear the music too. And then I got a strike. So I was like, well, he's got to go. Right? I had to cut you all out. Because it's a strike. It's not like a strike where they're going to ban me or anything like that. It just says you cannot be monetized. Well, if you do that a bunch of times, right, it's going to hurt your statistics on your channel because it's not really something you're supposed to be doing. So if you've clicked the monetize button and then you get these sort of strikes and it won't allow you and you keep doing that, you're telling the algorithm, you're confusing the algorithm, and the algorithm's just going to be like, well, obviously this guy doesn't want to get paid, right? Because what he's doing, he's not stopping. And if you have, like, that was one of your promo videos, right? That should not be like a promo video. I think I clicked on a promo video of yours and you had that on. That should not be on a promo video because it's a promo video. That's like a big rule that you wouldn't want to do that. Just remove it. Make another one. Make a new one. It's time to make a new one, right? And don't do that. I delete them. Whenever I've had a copyright strike, if I can't mute it, I delete the video. Okay, oops, made a mistake. There goes that one. Not the end of the world. Make another video. Right? You know, I mean, you make videos, so I know it sucks, but like, you're learning, and we make mistakes. And another statistic too. Let me catch up and I'll get to the statistic. Brett says, I'd have popped in sooner, but I was streaming our local fireworks show to Facebook. Nice. Bleach says, yeah, that song was a non-copyright music site, but they got famous, so I couldn't use. That's right. And that's another stickler, too. If something is not copyrighted at that time, and then they get popular, your videos are screwed. So you need to enter into a licensing agreement ahead of time. So either use the YouTube music, because they'll cover you for that, or you can go to these other sites where you can download lifetime copyright protection, permission and licensing. And it's not that expensive. I've seen as low as $10 a month, depends upon how many tunes you want. And then you get like the pick of some good tunes, if that's the thing you want to incorporate into your videos, right? It might be something you want to do, right? There's no rules, of course, like content-wise, right? It's just the rules are in how you get away with it. Is it legal, and is it going to benefit you, right? Like your channel. I find some decent kind of weird stuff I can use on the YouTube stuff, right? The YouTube music. Bleach says, yeah, that song was yeah, okay, I caught up with that. Yeah, that's screw you on that. What a lot of people do, especially in small engines, is they just don't use music. Because they're really just working on small engines. And I've listened to a lot of the guys. They're like, yeah, I that happened to me. I made that mistake. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't put music in my videos, right? I put music in my videos because I'm into music. I used to play a lot of music. I played in bands, and I like music, and I like audio. And Rob and I are kind of like, he's still an audiophile, but I had to sell all my shit because I went broke and got divorced, right? But he and I like that, right? So we like music, and it depends upon how much you like music. If it's part of your personality, you may want to bring music into your videos, and you may be more reluctant to say, I'm just going to make it so that I don't have videos anymore. I don't have any music in my videos. Right? I just want the video. I just want to work on the machine. But somebody like me is like, I can't help it. Like, I want to put something in there, and I don't want the copyright strike. Yeah. Think about it when you go to make. So Bleach says, when I find time, I make a new trailer. Yeah, I mean, now that you've been doing it for 13 years, regardless of when you did that trailer, who cares about the mistakes? Mistakes are just not successes yet. It's the mistakes are the cost of getting to a success, because there's anybody that's ever been successful on anything has made a lot of mistakes to get there. It's just what they do with the mistakes that allows them to get to the more successes, right? They don't get crippled by a mistake. It's just, you know, I've often said that knowledge is expensive. Learning is expensive. It doesn't matter whether you go to school or college or a BOCES course, or you have to buy something and screw it up, right? And lose all that money and waste all that time. It's expensive. Knowledge is expensive, right? Let me catch up. This is Brett says, now you see why when I upload shop vids to my channel, I do it with background sounds. Yup. That's right. Brett, check out some of Brett's stuff too, Bleach. Like he does not just like shop tools or whatever, but you know, because Bleach is, Brett, you missed some of it. Bleach is also looking for some, not just help with his YouTube channel and ideas, but he wants to level up a little bit here, a little bit, like what I'm saying is like a little bit here, a little bit there. He wants to get a little bit neater. He wants to get a little bit more tidy, organized. You know, all these little areas, Bleach, like if you strike out a little bit over here, right, and you're like, that didn't work out. But then you were hitting on this, and like, well, I got this side of the shop a little bit cleaner. And I got a little closer to my camera. I can't bring my mic any closer, and I'm a little bit louder there. And I cleaned up this over here, and I went on that, and I fixed that. You'd be surprised. You keep doing that kind of thing, and over the course of a year, you're going to like stand back, and you're going to like, look, new man, right? This stuff is getting better. Everything is getting a little bit neater, a little bit more organized. My videos are getting a little bit better. Like I said, when I first started, my videos were absolute crap. You know? I mean, part of it was because I was very ill, right? But that's only an excuse that can last for so long. And part of it was the camera, and I said, all right, well, I'll try to get better equipment. And then when I did get better equipment, it broke right away. And then when I got even better equipment, it was above me. Like, I'm like, wow, I got to learn this. So I had to spend a lot of time learning how to use them. I'm still playing around with them, learning how to use them. Now I'm learning how to deploy them. Like, in a sense of like, well, how do I really get them to do like the next level? Like I started doing some split screen. I don't know if the split screen is going to work out. I have to play with it for a little while. Small stuff. You probably would have seen some of this tonight. I didn't get a chance to play the video, so I'm going to release it like this week or maybe tomorrow or something. But I think there in that series there's some split screen work, and you can tell. From my view is that, yeah, my hand gets in the way, but then the other camera picks it up. And my thinking is, well, if people like that, then that might be a good thing to do, because at some point you're working on something. You're going to stand in front of the camera. It's not going to be the right angle. One point what it taught me is that I can't always put the camera, if I'm working on the bench, I can't always have one camera to the left. I have to put one camera over to the right because I'm a righty. And it wasn't something that I understood intuitively right away. I had to see it. And then I'm like, my hand keeps getting away from the side view. All right, let me move the camera over there. All right. And then I'm like, ooh, now my hand's not in the way. But it's a little harder to shoot over there because of the layout of my shop. But, if I can squeeze the camera in there, I'm like, oh, now my left hand is not as much in the way. This is a different side view, and I'm getting more of the shot. Because when I first started, I worked on like a Rochester carburetor, and one of the fellas says, a bunch of fellas said to me, it's good information, thank you, but we can't see what the fuck you're doing. Your hand at certain critical moments was in the way. We really needed to see that. Fail, right? Well, I'm like, well, how do I fix? I can't go back and fix that, okay? And I'm not going to do another one of those videos anytime soon because I sold the car and all that stuff. But that stuck with me, and I kept thinking, and it took a few years. And another thing I noticed too is like if you're working on something and there's a handlebar or something in the way, depending on how you set the camera up, these cameras will try to focus on the thing closest to it, and that's the handlebar or whatever the obstruction's in the way. But I want you to see in deeper. Well, you can move the camera closer, but if it's in your way, that's no good. You can move the camera back out of the way and then zoom in, but you need a zoom lens. Or you can leave it out, you can digitally zoom in. But if you digitally zoom in and edit, right, you still have the problem of the thing that's closer, it's going to try to focus on. What do you do about that? Well, you need a camera that you can actually tell it to ignore this in its autofocus that's closer, and this thing here I need you to stay on. So if that might be the thing where your camera may not be able to do it, and you can't do that, right? And you have to start thinking about, well, I need better equipment if I'm going to do more of this kind of thing, if I keep bumping into this. Or, right, other thing is like, okay, you cut the segment and you say what you're going to do. You can't show it because if you try to show it, it's out of focus. And then you have to stop and then show it what you did. Give a little sample and then cut it. Do what you got to do. Then take the camera back and show it. So you have to change the way the video is done. You can't just let the camera go, because what you're doing is hurting the person. Their eyes are all tweaked because they're looking at a handlebar and they don't know what the hell you're saying about. You know? I got to catch up again. Right. Let's see. Oh, it's going quick. Ooh, good. I saw some stuff here. Yeah, that trailer is 8 years old. Yeah, by the way, just like that guy was saying, right? Well, he's got some of these old videos that are 8 years old. Well, maybe it's time to do a new one. And like when I picked up that idea from Mick, I'm like, yeah, you know, who's to say you can't do that? Of course you can redo it. If you've got an 8-year-old video, why don't you redo it for 2023? Perfect opportunity. Okay. You can also, Rob says, you can also have a secondary channel that is not monetized. Yes, but then it's going to be really small and it may not grow. You have to weigh all that, right? It's hard enough to do one channel. It can be difficult to do two. Very hard. Let's see. Bleach says, money pit mowers. Yeah. Brett says, mine still are to a point, Arch, but I'm rolling with the punches. Robert says, here's an idea for a video for Art, for you, Arch. Arch, go on vacation. Go visit your friends in cool shops. Yeah. Bleach says, I have an old Tecumseh engine. I may put on one of my snappers. A friend gave me that should run. Yeah. I love the old Tecumseh engines. You know. Brett says, would love to see Arch's shop in person. Lots of YouTubers I'd like to go meet in person. Yeah, people do that. That's a thing. Yeah. Bleach says, they won't monetize me because I don't get enough views a month. They should monetize you by now. They changed that. Are you sure? I mean, they changed that. They changed that to like, when I started, it was 1,000 subs before you could get monetized. And I think you needed 10,000 views, or was it like 10,000 views in a year, within a calendar year, right? You actually had to have that many views in the year. 1,000 subs and something like 10,000. I think that's what it was. Because they lowered it. They got rid of, I don't think you need any subscribers that minimum now. I think they start monetizing right away. You know, they totally like removed a lot of those barriers. I think one of the reasons, I remember it wasn't that long before I was doing YouTube, before I started to see commercials on my stuff, and I couldn't remove them because I had no control over them. And there were a number of YouTubers that were complaining about that. That they didn't monetize, they weren't putting commercials on, and they found commercials on. So, you know, that's why I say it's very, YouTube nowadays is all about that. Like that's what pays for all of this stuff. So they just started doing it anyway, and I think they just changed the rules and said, the heck with it, right? You know, the commercials are gonna be in there. You know, whether you want them or not. So they just said, you know what, we'll just allow people to monetize. It's fine by me, you know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making some money from YouTube. There are fellas that don't like the idea of that for whatever reason. Maybe they have a really good job and they have plenty of money and you know, they do it for the love of the hobby or whatever. And I've heard some people complain. You know, it's the same thing with music. Oh, he's a sellout. Oh. Well, you know what? You got to pay your bills. You know, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, is the AG Pocket T-shirt to celebrate the year? It's my daughter. Where is it? Right. It's actually missing the rest of it because for some reason or other, they went with a darker shirt. And they may not have had the color. We wanted the olive drab, like military olive drab. So you can't see the rest of it. Unfortunately. But I'm trying to work this out because I'm not really a graphics person. So that's not really a skill I have. I made this, but my friend Matt Visceral, he gave me a hand. But my copy of Adobe Photoshop just does not want to work on this computer. It's just too old. And I don't have the money to get anything else. And there's other programs out there that I was fooling around with, but I got so busy with what I'm doing and just learning DaVinci. That was a lot. By the way, you can do graphic work on DaVinci to some degree. Yeah, you can actually do. I do a lot of the thumbnails and stuff on DaVinci. Brett says, I don't do it for the money part. I do it because I like doing it. But that being said, I remain behind the camera because my eyes look hideous. Bad corneas. Nobody cares. My teeth are hideous because diabetes almost killed me twice. I had no cavities for almost 50 years of my life. I had one root canal. Didn't have great teeth, but they were there. And then I almost died twice from diabetes. And it just, it's funny because I think, the Lord has a way of putting somebody, a little humility into a person, into a fella. And like, okay, so now that I go to start YouTube, like I'm all messed up, and I weighed 144 pounds when I started doing this. I couldn't see out of my eyes very well because I was half blind from the diabetes. I was weak. I was half out of my mind from sugar poisoning and brain damage from lack of sugar and ketoacidosis. And I was like, okay, what better time than now to start a YouTube channel, right? What more can I say, right? My looks are gone. I really started losing my hair, right? Like, from around that time because of the damage to my body. I'm lucky I'm alive. They all say it. They're like, you should be dead. They're missing a lot more than just teeth. You should be really messed up. I'm like, thank God, because I pray and I try to take care of myself. I've actually been watching some more stuff on diabetes lately and weighing the different options. There's a new way of looking at diabetes. They made a lot of mistakes. They didn't really understand it. They've been doing things kind of, I don't want to say wrong, but it's not a very well understood disease, and it's a deadly one, right? So whenever you have a disease that isn't very well understood and it's deadly, because it's a disease, they know like some of the mechanics of it, but each person, it's coming in at different ages, there's different things going on, and so I've been, I'm like, all right, now I got to really kind of, the past couple of nights I've been struggling a little bit because my sugars have been low. And at night, that's dangerous. Usually people go into comas. Fortunately, I haven't. I actually wake up. Most people don't wake up. They don't wake up, and then you know what happens when they don't wake up when the sugars go up? They don't wake up, like ever again. So you don't want to be too aggressive. So I'm like, okay, how do I? It takes some thought. When I get off, I'm gonna go eat a little bit more and go check my blood. I got to think about what time it is, when do I want to go to bed, where am I? I like to go to bed with a little bit of a higher sugar because my body then starts to get to a point where because I'm not doing anything, I'm sleeping, it will start to use up the sugar, and there is I do make some amount of insulin, and if I go to bed a little bit higher, I'm safer, and I'll wake up usually close to being normal. But I have to wait and hang out for a little while after I check it to see where I am and how I feel and everything. And then I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I can't take it anymore. So, you start stuff when you start stuff, and right now you might say, well, I'm doing it for fun, but at some point you might say, you know what? If you know what's fun, right? When YouTube pays you if you don't really need the money, I'm not in that position, but I've done a lot of stuff with my hobbies over the years, right? And, you know, regular job, you're working, you're paying your bills, and then you do this hobby thing and you get paid. And then you're like, okay, I got this money, I can put it back into my hobby. You know, how about that nice tool? Okay, how about that part for my car? How about that thing that I've been wanting to buy that if I go and buy it, my kid's not going to eat, my wife's going to kill me? But see, now I've managed to get that from this thing over here, right? So I'm just saying, I'm trying to inspire you guys, right? Like, you know, think about what I'm saying, okay? You know, if I made, you know, another couple $100 a month on YouTube, you know, maybe I could afford to buy this thing at the end of the year, and, you know, I did kind of want that, and, you know, just saying. All right, I got to catch up again. Christina comes on, she goes, you're still on, huh? Yeah, we're talking about you, Christina. Rob says, great teeth except the one that got accidentally knocked out. Yeah. I still have that one. And it's got a cap on it from back then. Like, I mean, like I'm saying, like, nothing really ever happened. Like, even when they fixed it, they never had it fixed properly, and that cap is still there. They were like, that's going to fall off. And when I first got it, they were like, that's going to fall off. That's not going to last. It still have it. Welcome to my world, brother. Been this way since birth. Yeah, but so what? You're not perfect. We don't care, right? We really don't care. We're watching you do your thing and your stuff that you do, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, you know the band Kansas, right? Like one of the guitarists, he had this wacky eye, right? And he was right on the album cover, and it was kind of creepy too because you'd look at it, it was like looking at I get it, probably had a glass eye, but nobody cares. The band was awesome. Nobody cares. Yeah, they went on to do some pretty cool stuff. Welcome to my world. Yeah. As he read says, I'm surprised Simpson hasn't wanted to have me review something, seeing how much I push that stuff. Then write them. You know, I've tried that. Usually I do better with the companies that find me and offer me something. But write them. You know? Say their name more often. Because, you know, YouTube picks up on everything we say, right? Even YouTube says, you know, the guidelines for YouTube, and I've watched videos on you know, from YouTube, even their videos I've watched, where they talk about how to be like more popular and get more reach and everything. And they just had a seminar recently on I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I didn't watch this one though, but it was about new things coming up and how to get more reach. And one of the things they say is say your channel's name more often, you know, and YouTube will pick up on that, and the algorithm will start to, you know, modulate with it, and it'll kind of, it helps it. So say Simpson and whatever else, and you'd be surprised. Like, you really, I think that's how Da Vinci found me, is because I started talking about it. I put it on a thumbnail. I did it even just on a live. I didn't spend a lot of time with it. I did a couple of different things. I occasionally talk about the, you know, the Black Magic 810 Mini, this thing here. It's over here. Okay. I can't really pick it up because if I do, I have a bad connector over here, but you can see it. And it's this little thing here. And they can search all that stuff. It's that information. Our information is sold. So I think the saying is, my friend Kurt's wife says, said, if you're not buying the product, you are the product. Which, you know, that's pretty damn accurate. You might get, you know, a deal with them where you get a pressure washer out of the deal or something. Or a gift certificate. You know, for supplies or something. Everybody's saying hi to Christina. You know, I mean, a pressure washer is an expensive thing. I see these guys, they get like the power supplies, right? Power inverters, some solar stuff, the battery inverter chargers, welders, right? You know, some of the stuff is content driven, obviously. Like I watch guys that are into like farm equipment or diesel equipment or like really old stuff or some of the car stuff. One of the guys I watch, right, he's always talking about, well, I still don't have a battery sponsor. I need a battery sponsor over here, right? That's, what the hell is his name? Mortsky Repair, right? He's hysterical. He's funny. He's a little long-winded sometimes. He'll go on and on and on about something, you know, on one of his videos. Instead of working on the car, he's just going on and on and on. But he's entertaining and he's silly to watch sometimes. And he's a damn good mechanic and he comes up with some great ideas. But he's always going on and on about it. We need a battery sponsor. This week's battery sponsor is nobody. Because nobody's helping out. One of these days, somebody's going to sponsor him with batteries. He does very well, and he's got a website, and he's got merch, right? I don't really have any merch yet. This is my daughter's merch experiment. You know, because that's like really not my kind of thing. Like Musty doesn't have merch. You know, and I remember for a while there, everybody was asking about, he's got one of these squeeze bottles. Like, I have this one. Right? But he's got the ones where, from the sewing machines, he told us where he got them from. And it's got this little tube that comes out, and I had one of those too, and he was always using that. And there was this period where, a bunch of years ago, where, like, one guy started marketing Musty style dispensers, whatever, and people kept asking. He was like it was iconic. He never tried to sell any on his own. He never tried to hawk any gear. He's just like, "What's up, guys? I'm working on this today." And really, his style is not that he's a good mechanic. He is a good mechanic. His style is he makes you feel like he's in the shop. You're in the shop with him. And even when he moved to the bigger shop, a lot of us like, "Oh no, he missed the garage." Can you? He keeps talking about how he's going to do some stuff in the garage. He still hasn't in his little garage, right? It's kind of a garage like mine, kind of like that. And what was quaint about it was like a 2-car garage plus this crazy property where he has all these like tent buildings and everything. And that's really was like hanging out, working on stuff with Musty in his garage. Doesn't matter what it is. And he was able to build that type of following based on that. And he would work on whatever. You know, and when he first started, he didn't have a lot of money, so it was really just some of the junk he could figure out how to, you know, fool around with. Let's see. Rob says, "I hope you get a nice package from Da Vinci." Yeah, I think that would be good. Brett says, "By the way, Arch, my cat Charlie is doing much better." Nice. Eating good, gaining weight again, and running around again. That's great. Yeah, I know. Rob says I need an AG cap. Yeah, because your cat was a mess for a while. My doggy was really kind of out of it today. Yesterday too, but more today. He just laid in the garage and didn't move, except gag every now and then. I'm gonna check on him a little bit. Christina, go check on the dog. All right, can you go check on the dog? Because he's been like very lethargic. He might just be hot. He gets tired. I know. Yeah, my dog is like 16 years old. How old is Apollo again? Yeah, they go through periods. Sometimes I get worried if they get a little too active. I get this because I've had other animals. And so it's like all of us. Like you get one last good wind and then you're not here anymore. Right? You're done. All right? So, you know, make it a good one, right? Because it's the last one, right? So I kind of worry about that. You know, he's a good guy. He's my old dog. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff. Like, you know, like Da Vinci. I like this unit, but there's another unit that. Those you have two. So Charlie 16 Mini is 12. Wow, they're old. There's two of these. There's another version of this unit that's a little bit more money. I couldn't afford it. I could barely afford this one. And it did. Glitched again. And the other one will simulcast. So if I wanted to do a live, for example, I could be streaming to Facebook while I'm streaming here. I could be streaming to, let's say, Rumble, because I want to do some stuff on Rumble. Because there's things I can't say on YouTube, right? It's against their policy. Some of the stuff, you know, I'd like to say. I can't do it on YouTube. I could do it on Rumble, on one of those other channels. And I could be simulcasting. And so one of the things I could do is say, all right, this first part of this video, this live, is going to be, on both. And you can just, if you want, just go right over to the Rumble or whatever else it is. I could then start another channel on a different platform, which is important because with the way things are today, right, things change, and who's to say that YouTube is the be-all to end-all, right? It's a great platform. I'm not pushing it, down or anything, but there's other platforms, and they have their purposes. And people have tried to get me, why don't you go on this or go on that? And I'm like, well, it's a lot just what I'm doing right now. I do some shorts on occasion, and some of them have done pretty good. But that's a completely different format. You can't fit anything. It's very hard to do what I do on this thing, okay? Right? Because it's this wide, and nothing fits. And in here, unless you're really up close. In here, the shop is decent size, but I can't really get far enough back, because there's usually, depending on where I am in the shop, if I want to do a short, it's very hard to get far enough back to get in what I want to get into the picture, because there's no wide. And I'm just complaining, but really I'm a widescreen guy. You think? Okay, look, 3 here, 1 over there, right? See, you just caught it, it glitched. Look, they went over here, right? Because this is in delay. This format, this way is for what I do. I don't like it, but it is useful for certain things in the platforms that we're in, and able to get out some of what you're doing and messaging out, and multi-platform and kind of thing. And then there's other platforms to put this type of format. What is it, like 6x9 or 9x6 or whatever? Yeah, I know, but not this one, no, Rob. This is too old. Okay, we tried. When I first started doing this, we tried a live stream with this. It was atrocious, and it is something wrong with it too. It has to do with the microphone and the camera system on it. It's one of the older iPhones, and I forget what it was, but it's not usable on live. It's absolutely not usable. You have to get a separate microphone for it, and the camera's not that good. So it's just not made for it. All right, the newer ones are, but not this one. So there's no point in putting any money into it. My daughters gave me this, so it's very useful for what I use it for, but not for here. I use this thing though a lot. This is actually not just for controlling my camera, because it's actually controlling my main camera right now. See? You probably can't see it because it's kind of dark. But it's actually controlling this camera. But I use it for that, and it's in a lot of my footages. It's like in a lot of my videos. It actually has, and I have a better version of this phone and camera. It's the one that I have another one. It's got a dual core processor that's a little faster with a little bit more RAM, and it's supposedly a better camera, and it's not as good. So specs sometimes don't really tell the story. I tried them back to back. I was playing around with them. This is for what I like to do with it. It's actually a better piece of equipment, and I like it for certain close-up shots. It just doesn't have no image stabilization, and the way it handles contrast focus. If you don't hold it dead still, the image is all over the place, squirrely, and it's a mess. So you just have to be careful with it. Let's see. Brett says I quit using camcorders for YouTube. I do it on an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which has an ultra wide camera mode. Yeah, a lot of people use that. The newer iPhones, right? This is too old. Yeah, they use it, and if you have a stabilizer, like a little gyro thing, you can hand hold it. It's even better. Right? You can totally maximize your image stabilization, but you're still limited because there's no glass. Right? Keep in mind though that you're talking about a lot of it's all digital, right? Because there's just simply no glass. There's no place to put a glass, and the sensors will never be as good as something like it's on this one or this one. So you're still going to be limited, but these are bigger. These are not camcorders. right? These are cameras, and depends upon the camcorder, because you can use a more of a pro level camcorder. They're very small, like a prosumer, and the sensors are big, or they're actually micro four thirds, most of them, but they're micro four thirds is a lot bigger than anything that you're ever going to put on a phone. And these are not micro four thirds, right? These are even bigger. So there's a lot of stuff you can do that you can't do with a phone, but the phone simplifies the capture environment. But then if you're editing on the phone, you're going to be limited, all right, in terms of your editing. So that means that when you shoot, you have to keep that in mind, and then you're limited in your editing, which ultimately you're going to be limited in what you're making in your output, which might be fine, because a lot of people create shows that are literally that simple. They stick a camera down and they shoot this. And for some of these people, not all of them, but for some of these people, they get a lot of views and they do quite well like that. And so you can't argue with it. But it doesn't work in every situation for everybody. Changing views is important. The average is about every 3 seconds. I think if you look at like any kind of mainstream video, it doesn't matter whether it's news or video or a promo spot or a movie, right? They're moving stuff between every 3 to 10 seconds, unless it's a longer sequence. But even in the sequence, you'll see scene changing of camera angles. If you just, like, one of the things I remember when I first started, because I study this stuff, I'm into videos and I'm into movies, and I took it in school, and one of the things I realized, the scariest thing that I realized, is I set a camera on a tripod and I pointed at a lawnmower. I went, wow, this video is going to be great, can't wait. I mean, just think about that. Imagine you put a camera on a tripod, you point it down at a lawnmower, and for the next half hour, it's you or me talking and working on this stupid thing, and this just sits there. I don't care what camera you have, right? It's on a lawnmower for 20 minutes, and nothing's changed. You're just working on it. I thought to myself, oh my God, this is going to suck bad, right? What do I do about this? Like, without even thinking about whether or not anybody else did it or not or anything, I'm like, I could never live with myself if I did that. There are people that do that. There are also people that they put it on a stand, they put the stand on a lawnmower or whatever, and then they go walk up to the camera, they grab it, right? And then you hear them wrestling with it, and then you see the cameras going all over the place, right? And then they're like, oh, come over here now, oh! Boom, right? The camera comes down, and they're like, okay, hold on, I gotta wrestle with it again, right? They don't cut any of that out, right? And then you're like, you're like blind. You're like, oh, stop! Level the camera off, man. They're like, hold on, And some people will watch that and they're like, that guy's good. And other people will be like, nope, click off, can't watch it. It really depends. It's like, I don't think I could get away with doing that. One guy I know, I was watching, and he was on one of the live shows, and I was chatting in the background. He's an older guy, Henry, and he goes, Arch, I watch your videos, but I don't know what it is, because he's an older guy. He goes, you videography guys, you make me dizzy with these things that you do and the transitions. I don't like that. Because I'll use like a transition or something where I'll fade in or whatever. I guess that's what he's talking about, where I'll fade in, I'll cross dissolve into something. And, I'm like thinking to myself, Henry, have you ever watched like a movie today? Like, because movies do that. Like, movies do basic transitions. Like, a typical movie scene set up today is a cut. Cut, action. Cut, every few seconds. Sometimes they'll do a fade, a black into black fade. And every now and then they'll do a cross dissolve where you see a little bit of the one scene blending into the next. Now, I will do a cross dissolve only if I have to do something in a cut in the video and I don't like a hard cut. I do a cross dissolve or a cross fade in a way because I'm meshing the two broken segments together, and I really narrow it down a lot now. It's very, very light. I'll do a fade to black and out, like an in and out black, if it's the close of a segment. So if I said, all right, guys, I'll be right back. And then I come back in to basically the same thing, but I've changed the angle a little bit. I said I was going to leave. I finished doing a particular segment. You know, whatever it is I'm working on, we're done with that section. We're going to move to something else. I used the fade to black to incorporate the transition to suggest visually that I've completed something and I'm starting something new. That's how you would use that. The sharp cuts are he's talking, she's talking, they're talking, the car just pulled up, right? That's how they're used. And if you do them quick and you move things around, a sharp, hard cut is very useful. Pretty much that's what they do. If you're back in the 80s and you got a special effects generator, it was all these slides and the boxes and the elliptical windows. And like DaVinci has all that stuff. It's like legacy. Like we just look at that stuff now and we laugh. I will use it though if I'm making something like a wash video with weird music and I'm working to the beat. I think that's what Henry didn't like. And I'm coming up with something conceptual and I want to just push the boundaries and do weird shit like this. I'll use a really extended cross dissolve if I'm washing something. And what it'll look like is if I'm standing here shooting the pressure washer this way, I can actually cross dissolve and it will look like there's two of me and two streams. And it's like LSD, you know? Very good job. Very good job. Let's see. Rob says their accessory lenses carried out. I quit using cell phones. The audio is stereo, and I added a program called Perfect Video. I've never heard of that. Is Perfect Video, Brett, for like the cell phone style, you know, type of workload? Yeah, Brett says, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Rob wants to return to his CB radios. Not gonna happen. Okay, so I've watched a couple of videos on people that still use those. They're like, let's turn it on. All right, squelch it. It's dead silence. Turn the channel. Dead silence. Another channel. Oh, you hear something in the background. What are you saying? I can't hear it. Unit didn't grant. Yeah. Arch tossed my Lafayette. Yeah, I had it for a really long time. That fucking thing's illegal. I mean, you could buy something cheap today, Yaesu's and some of the other stuff, and all these cheapy Korean units out there today. There's no point in having that old crap anymore. There's absolutely no point to it. There's much better devices out there. It's for iOS, yeah. Well, DaVinci works on iOS too. But if it works for you, you know, again, you know, if you're thinking about leveling up. We'll see what happens with DaVinci and what they do, because I actually really enjoy it. As I mentioned earlier, you know, being like more of a Rob is still like into audio, and he likes to save off a lot of video movies and stuff too. But if you kind of want to level up a little bit on your videos and see what you can do and how you can capture a better video, do something a little bit different, maybe a different approach, and you're looking for something a little bit more powerful, because you really are limited. I find that I'm even limited sometimes with even all these monitors, right? The way I lay out my workflow, the way I save my files, the way I back them up. My daughter's boyfriend just started doing some video work for his job, and I think he's a natural. I think he kind of just gets it. But he backs up to the cloud, and the cloud, don't even get me started on the cloud. You need a hard backup. And the way they set this stuff up on the phones today is first of all, they're stealing your information. I mean, honestly. And they're not protecting your information. And they're not the ones that are responsible for your information. You are, right? Ultimately, that could all screw up and it could be gone. And the way they make it with the phones is it's a matter of convenience, not quality. It's a matter of convenience, not security. It's a matter of convenience, not expandability, and it's a matter of convenience. End of story. It limits you in everything else that you could possibly do. It's for quick stuff that's convenient. But if you're starting to really do YouTube, and you're starting to be serious about it, and you want to, game up, right? You got to get away from it. You make it part of what you're doing, but you have to get away from it to some degree because it's going to hold you back. And that's my professional opinion, because, and I say professional, not because I'm a YouTuber. It's my professional opinion from stuff that I've worked with for so many years and even going to school. It has nothing to do with YouTube. It's just a matter of the utility of the tool, right? It's building computers and selling them to people and fixing them. The 3 rules of computers: backup, backup, and backup. Well, I backed up to the cloud. Well, you can't get to the cloud. Why can't I get to the cloud? Because your fucking computer is dead. How are you going to get to the cloud to get to it? Do you have a disk or something that you put the information on? No, it's in the cloud. Well, then you go find another computer. Go buy another computer and get to it, and then we can bring it back. If your internet is down, if something is slow, if you need it right now, right? There's so many things that I can't even think of that would hold you back from doing it that way. It's a good idea to use something like that, but I know people that have built channels on that, but ultimately the people that really have expanded, they're into multiple cameras. They have, usually they'll use something where they'll have a NAS backup system that they work off of. They actually work off of NAS. It's in their closet or something somewhere. Just have one bad experience. Have one bad experience where you've lost everything. All the work that you've done and all of the stuff that you're currently working on. And it's happened to me when I first started a few times. Have a bad experience, eat that corn, pick it out of your duty, and you'll be doing that for a while and you'll be like, fuck, I just really screwed myself because I had nothing but convenience. And now I need the money, or I need to get the project done. Nobody that's professional does that. They use it as a tool, as part of the sort of data collection, like I do. Like when this has a certain use in what I do, and until I get something different or better, I hope I don't ruin it, right? Because for certain things that I do, it works really good. Amen, Rob. Give me an unidentified. Break it. Yeah. It's for iOS 7.1 surround. Yeah. Even Star Trek had hard copies. That's right. An external hard drive or SSD can be your most valuable tool. Oh, yeah. Right? I still haven't released the videos on my computer of me hammering. I burned out in 1 year like 4-5 hard drives. 1, it's hot in here. 2, they were getting older. And some of the video stuff that I do, just to make like one of my half-hour videos, I could easily, in my file folder, I could easily have 80 gigs that I'm working with. And that's the actual difference of what I'm working with, what I collect. Because I'll let the cameras run for a certain amount of time, and I stopped running in 4K all the time. I only use 4K for certain shots. I mean, I might upload as 4K, but that's for a different reason. But I'll collect all this data, and then I shove it onto my computer, I back it all up, and then I go looking at it, because I'm going to get rid of a lot of it. But I'll catch stuff, and I'm like, wow, that I could use. I could use that. I think I have an idea for that. Because it's better for me to capture it and have it, because I learned the hard way, if I don't capture it, I don't have it. If I capture it and I have it and I don't want it, throw it out. Or I keep it for some other time. No loss. But if I don't capture it, I don't have it. I can't work with it. Let's see what you hard drive. Yep. What Rob says, even multiple backs up cloud. The cloud is a backup. It is one of the 3. And it's actually the one that you should be thinking about, like Rob likes to travel. When I used to work in Connecticut, now that was, back then everything was slower, but let's say I used to work in Connecticut most of the week, and then I'm here. So the cloud is perfect for that, because you can have the local stuff here that you're working with, but because I was doing work up there, I could keep the files here, and I could keep the files there, and I could sync them, and so when I was up there, I could access them. When I'm down here, I could access them. I can have them synced if I so choose. I can keep them different. I still have a couple other accounts, too, where I keep certain things, and I haven't accessed that in a long time. I should close out those accounts. But that's what you do with stuff like that. I've heard of stories of like editors that have shown up to a preview and they just were not doing the right thing, and they did not have the most updated copy of their edit, and you'll never work again. You do that to the wrong producer, you may not ever get another job. Yeah, that's a big no-no, right? In some cases, like a good editor will have multiple versions of an edit. You ever hear like the director's cut, right? Most directors are very particular about their editor because their editor is the voice. It can be the voice of the director. In many cases, and Rob will know, many cases you think it's the director, but it's a lot of what you're seeing is the editor. A lot of it, and it's that relationship with the director, and so you need to have different versions saved off. Well, that, you know, the file sizes on some of these movies, I mean, and how long these backups are and how expensive it is to maintain. Of course, we don't need to do that, but we do need to do something because their videos are important. Oh, TJ's here. Yeah, we're about ready to leave too, TJ. See you later, TJ. Yeah, this is it's public backups susceptible to being hacked. Absolutely, especially today. And the World Economic Forum is telling us that we're all about to be hacked, and that's going to be one of the things on the list that they're dreaming about. Right? So, yeah. Oh, yeah, the internet shut down, which, as he says, as Klaus Schwab, you shall eat the bugs. Yep, Klaus Schwab. Yep. Whoever masters the next industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, will be the master of the world. Actually says shit like that. This is who's running the world right now. So we're going to have something like that, some kind of shutdown, some kind of something, right? Who knows what it'll be? It could be all kinds of hell, you know. It says you can use encryption with the cloud to keep your stuff private. Yeah, but corruption is a hack, all right? So it doesn't matter if it's encrypted. It's just, like you said, it's private, but it can be corrupted, right? Truncated, corrupted, and even if it's in a binary, right, it can still be deleted and corrupted, you know, so then you're done, right? That's a hack. I mean, some of the earlier hacks were all about destroying your computer. I had one that got into the BIOS of one of my computers because Elizabeth's ex-boyfriend came over and he wanted me to listen to that song, what was it, by the Black Eyed Peas, and he was listening to it on Kazaa, and he just like turned it on, and this is like my work computer, and you hear it like, hey, and I heard that a bunch of times, and I went to go reboot my computer the next day, and it was all fucked up. And it went into the BIOS, and every time I tried to reload the operating system, I would get the operating system going, and it would get worse. And then it finally got to the point where it wouldn't even load the operating system. And I just had to wipe the BIOS. I had to like literally just wipe the BIOS out. And then I was like, it's got to be in the BIOS. It was in the motherboard BIOS. Let's see. So my grandson birthday. Nice. Happy birthday. It was a secondary backup. It doesn't need to be perfect. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Maybe for you, right? But it depends upon what you're doing, right? Like a secondary backup should be a backup of the primary backup. Really, right? It's not like, well, this is the half-ass backup. It's not as good, right? So what are you saying? Is it corrupt? Tell the IRS that. Well, you know, this is the version I'm giving you, okay? Because it's not as good. It's not as accurate. Oh, really? Oh, really, Mr. Rob? Tell us more. You know? Oh, look at Spork. What's Spork doing here? Oh, thanks, Spork. What are you doing? What are you doing, Spork? Were you up late? Or actually, no, he's working another shift. Then you need more backups in the line. Yeah, well, backup, backup, and backup, right? That's like the three things. He's working, so Spork is actually working. Yeah, nice, nice. He's on the night shift. Yeah, to get the differential, you should. You probably get the differential. Probably a nice differential too. Working night shift. So yeah, good. Anything with technology, right? Think about like written, you know, what's written in stone, the phrase written in stone, right? I often say that, you know, This is not the first time for civilization. All the old stories and stuff that comes out. And like, well, where is all of the technology that everybody talks about, right? Well, it's where our technology is, in the dump, because it doesn't last very long, and it's extremely sensitive and vulnerable and fragile, right? And it won't last. And no matter what it is, right, it's not going to last. And that was the problem I was going through. I'd back up from one drive to another, and guess what? One of the drives would burn out, and I'd lose information. And then it's expensive because I had to replace drives, and I really didn't have the money to do it. And another drive would burn out. And now I don't have the room because now I'm working in bigger file sizes. And I'm like, well, that sucks because I have to go to even bigger hard drives, which is now even more money. And you're not talking SSDs or anything. I have two NVMe drives, and I work off of two SSDs. Two SSDs and two NVMEs. All the other drives I have are basically storage, bulk storage, and backup. So when I dump my cameras, when I do dump them, I dump them onto big spinners, and then I back them up to another spinner. I can record what I'm doing right now, right? And they would be recorded to an SSD. A lot of what I record in the shop is wired. The cameras are actually wired through HDMI. So it's DVI, right? And that's dumping to an SSD, which I then back up. And then they actually get moved. They get moved off of that SSD onto another set of drives, an NVMe, where I work from. And one of my scratch drives is an NVMe. So I don't have any, because I'm working with big files. So I don't have any lag or anything on my timeline when I scrub or whatever. But as soon as you start working like that and you start cutting pieces up and whatever, you can do a lot with this kind of software and a setup like this. It makes it a lot easier to grab pieces from here, shove it into the timeline, build a whole mosaic up. You can't really do that on a phone, right? The only editing that you can really do on a phone is, oh, I said the wrong word, or I walked away from the camera, or it's just like very, very basic stuff. And it's hard to be even more artistic. So the way to be more artistic, not autistic, is you have to plan what you're doing and plan your shots and very carefully monitor when you start recording and when you stop, so that it's less time working in the editor. But to try to take a file from something else, and like I put B-roll on top of things, right? You'll see that if I'm narrating a certain section for an intro or whatever, I start putting all kinds of stuff on top. I don't know how you would even begin to search for the files to do that on something. You can't finger it and thumb it. Like, there's no room to work doing that. It would really slow you down. It would be very hard to do. And then you'd have to be able to navigate through the folders where you keep this stuff on your phone and do a copy, and then you'd have to paste in and with your finger, and it's very hard to control. Like, I've seen some programs where people do that, but you're not going to be doing a lot of that, right? It's not practical to do on it. If you have no choice, you can do it. Thank you, TJ. Yeah, dump your vacation pics, definitely. And then the backup, yeah. Spock says, I'm on schedule for about 120 hours of overtime this month because we are short-handed. Oh, that's good and bad. Oh, you have, Rob says he has a volcano erupting. Some footage of that. Hopefully you were not standing all that close. I don't know, pics are important. Your videos are important. Sooner or later, your shit's going to break, and then you got to get it off. You got to be able to move it around, right? I've had a lot of problems with that over the years because it's so perishable. Meanwhile, somehow or other, all right, I've got an F ton of songs in MP3 that have managed to survive. I don't know how that is. Probably because I don't play with them that much. Right? They exist in two different places, and you could have an awful lot of them in MP3 format, and they don't really care. It's this stuff. It's so huge, and if you want good quality, yeah. I I'm going to have to put together some footage of my computer and some of the stuff that I'm doing. It's an old computer by today's standards, but it was very expensive when I put it together. It was way ahead of its time. And it does a really good job of it. I got to say, I'm surprised. Its only real shortcoming is when I go to render. It's, you know, when you're done with the video and you click render out to like MP4 or whatever, that takes a long time. And the computer gets hot because it's at 100%. So in the summertime when it gets hotter out, I'll render at night. But then if I render at night and it can take an hour or two, I may only have an hour or two to do some work on a computer. And when it's hot out, that's a problem because then I can't video edit. The other option is I could leave the computer on all night, and before I go to bed, I could set it to render. But then you're leaving your computer on for a really long time, and I used to do that, and not for nothing, when I used to run game servers and everything, you really shorten the life of stuff when you do that. Or I have to do it early in the morning before it gets too hot in the shop, right? And because it takes a longer to edit, to render, like if I want to render off a segment, just to have it collapse down into something that's a little bit more manageable. And if it's a fairly lengthy piece, that is the only thing I'm going to be doing in that moment in time. And then that means I'm like, all right, well, tomorrow night I'm going to have to do something else. You know, I got to try to free up some time. Every now and then I have to take a day off just to catch up with my videos. You know, some nights I show up here and I sit down, and when I get comfortable, I've uploaded so much video footage, and there's so many projects going on at one time that I have to sit down and reorganize them, move them around to different jobs where I have them staged, and then I run backups. And then I'm just, at that point, once I get to the backup point, I start watching you guys on YouTube. And I just sit down like this, right? Got my mouse over here. I'm watching. Sometimes I watch two videos at the same time, and I'm doing something on one of mine, right? Talk about an idiot multitasker, right? And then I got Discord in the background because I'm watching Relentless Spork, one of these guys, because they're playing some hokey game. And I like to go in and make fun of Visceral and aggravate them and piss off Ace and confuse Spork, right? And then I leave, right? And I listen for a little while. I hang out with them for a little bit, but then I can't hear, and I turn them down or I turn them off or whatever. I get cranky because I'm old. You know, Spork doesn't know some of the servers that I've made. He's kind of a little bit late to that party. I used to make some really cool like Armor servers and Exile and Daisy Epoch. That was the good old days. That was fun. Right, and I run the servers off of my boxes. I had multiple computers here, so one of them ran all the time. It was always on. It's like I say, it's how I know stuff burns out when you leave it on. Anyway, that was fun. It was Brett say, sorry, just being ornery. Yeah, I'm ornery. I get ornery. I'm old. I'm entitled. Brett says, close enough to see the red lava with the naked eye. As he said, get it off. Hey, a little Beavis and Butt. Yeah, I love Beavis and Butthead. I was going to put some little slices of Beavis and Butthead. I think what I do sometimes is, if I'm not sure, by the way, if I want to run something like the segment I ran earlier, that I might get kicked for that or bumped for that or get a strike, or I don't really know. You can also get shadow banned. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll create a little segment, like for example, like a bunch of Beavis and Butthead stuff. I'll put a whole bunch of Beavis and Butthead stuff together in a video, just a video of just that, and then I'll render it out and I'll upload it to YouTube, and I'll have YouTube check it because it runs its checks, right? And then I'll publish it, but unlisted, and then I'll give it a day or two, because sometimes it might even pass the initial checks and be fine. I'll throw the monetization switch on it if it's long enough, and then I give it a couple of days to see what happens, because sometimes YouTube is slow and it doesn't find things right away, and I look to see what happens. Whatever the segment, it might have a weird piece of music in it. I'm not really sure. There's ways around that. You can speed it up. You can shorten the segment to 3 seconds. 10 seconds, something like that. Whatever it is, there's ways around that, and I'll test the waters and see. And if I get a flag, then I delete it and I just don't use it, because I like to throw weird shit in. Like, what was this from? This was this thing I threw in. I don't have anything ready here for tonight. I'm too tired anyway now. Actually, I'm going to head out of here because it's been like 3 hours. So we're done. I'm sorry because everybody kind of like got me on a different tangent. I was hanging out with you fellas. Sort of like last week, I was more into just doing what some of you guys were doing and hanging out live and just chatting. You know, sometimes I put something up, and other times I just want to hang out with everybody, and I'm willing to kind of divert my effort, just kind of turn on a dime, and not everything has to be so contrived, and that's what I like about the lives. You know, when you're making a video, it is contrived. The lives can be a little bit more free, but I'm going to head out of here. I want to say thank you again. Yeah, the great call. Yeah, I get teepee from my bunghole. Right? I used to be able to do that pretty good. You know, so we had fun fooling around with that back in the day. I need teepee. I need teepee for my bunghole. My bunghole. 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 I am the great Conholio. Shut up. Shut up. That was great. Come to Beavis. Come to Butthead. No, it's come to Butthead. Come to Butthead. It's so wrong. Red says he does it perfectly, just like Beavis. Yeah, I might put a few little things in that. I got SpongeBob pieces in there. A lot of people do, because SpongeBob is popular, and my daughter and I used to watch that together. Right? By the way, there's a lost SpongeBob episode. I'm going to play this. All right? It's a story. I don't know if it's true, but this woman tells the story. It's SpongeBob lore. All right? It's actual lore. It's a very creepy story with SpongeBob and the whole crew that were making it. We don't really know if it's true. It's lore, and it's really creepy and weird. And this one woman tells the story, and I actually sent the link to my daughter, so I'll have to go rifle through the thing that I sent her. All right? And I'll record it because you're probably never going to find it because it came through one of my streams. I'll record it, and like next time come on, I think I'll run that as like the intro promo leader. We call it a leader, really. Before I come on, and I'll run that. And it takes a little while to tell the story, but for those of us, and a lot of us are into SpongeBob, right? You're gonna want to hear this because she tells the story perfectly, and you'll be a little disturbed. I gotta say, I don't want to say any more, right? Because you just got to hear it. I'm going to get out of you guys. I enjoyed hanging out. Yeah, do it in a shop vid, Brett. You know, definitely. That's like adding your little bit of what you're good at, what you like. This is, by the way, same thing for Bleach, right? Kind of like adding your personality in, but not overdoing it. Kind of thing. Not being over the top like the guy I mentioned earlier who was screaming and cursing all the time. And when I first watched him for a little while, I was like, all right. But then after a while, it's like, no, dude, all you do is scream and yell and curse and make fun of your wife and whatever. And, you know. So Brett says voice impressions is his thing. Nice. So you got to do it. You got to work him into the show. All right, I'm out of here. I got to go check my blood and hang out and relax a little while. Again, thank you everybody for watching the show and everybody that stopped in and for 1 million views. And it's a lot, right? But I want to be modest here. In the YouTube world, it's not a lot. But I'm very happy. And a lot of you guys made it happen. And I'm going to try to keep going. And as I say, you know, get onward to the next million or whatever. And if it took me 3 years to get to, well, I'll see you 6 years from now. All right. If I don't see you through the week, then I'm going to be peeking in your window.